or a
Right.
Lamborghini, and then putting like Walmart special tires on it.
Yeah.
You have all this
Or
potential, all of this amazing
I'll
stuff.
I'll go one step further. Not Walmart special tires. This would be the equivalent of going out and buying a Lamborghini and taking it to Walmart for the oil change.
Yeah. It's you don't buy a computer with a 5060 graphics card, right? That's only 2 steps below the best graphics card that you can
Right.
get. And then you pair it with the world's cheapest, crappiest 1080p monitor. That's not what
Yeah.
you do. That's a terrible idea.
No, that sounds like exactly what some corporate shill would come up with.
Oh, it just which is why the monitors that thankfully I had a couple of returns, so I have 4K monitors, one that's a 75 hertz and
Nice.
4K. So like that one goes well with it, but yeah. But yeah, it's the Skytech Viper and the Skytech Edge are the two. And I like the Viper because it's the green.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of an Xbox actually. A little bit, but it's cool. The power supply is actually really pretty. I will say the power supply is pretty on it. I like the case they have on that.
So it's been a while. What the hell you been up to?
My landlord is selling my house. And
fantastic.
I have had random people walking through my house for the past 6 days straight.
Ugh.
I have people who are going to, and like today, I had somebody come in to do a walkthrough at 10 a.m. Sunday is my day off.
You want to sleep in?
Yeah. And I still had to be up early because of them. And then, like, I was just super short with answers to the realtor who's trying to be all pleasant. And I'm like, dude, this is my 1 day a week off. And I had to be up at the same time as I would if I had to go to work.
Yep.
Like, just don't talk to me and get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
This is freaking ridiculous.
Hopefully soon that'll all be over. I'm finally feeling better.
Well, that's good.
I mean, yesterday we were all over the place. We went to Shallers for a few hours. 2 of his kids had birthday parties. So they had like inflatable water parks. So we took the kids out there and they ran themselves ragged for like 3.5 hours. Then we went out to the in-laws and spent a good chunk of the day out or evening out there. Came home, went to bed, got up at 8:30 this morning, and drove to Madison. You know those black and yellow totes you get from Menards?
Yeah.
So there's a guy down there that custom builds racking for those.
Oh, nice.
And for a 2 high by 3 wide, it was $135 with a 1/2-inch plywood top, so workbench on top.
Oh, that's really handy. That's a really nice deal too.
Right. It's like I could build it for cheaper, sure, but if you factor in my time and everything else I've got going on, it's worth my time to drive to Madison to pick that up for $135.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm always like, whenever I get stuff that people are like, but you could have built that yourself for cheaper. I'm like, yeah, but would I have? Or would I have just dealt with the setup that I had?
I mean, to be fair, I would have, but again, we went down there, we got that, then we went and spent way too fucking much money at Costco. But you remember, buy in bulk, pay in bulk.
Yeah.
So we went to Costco and dropped a crap load of money. Then I went to Cabela's and dropped only $60 at Cabela's. So I mean, that wasn't too bad.
I don't even know the last time that I got out of Cabela's with a bill that had only 2 digits in it.
Right. I only bought a box of 9mm bullets and a package of Country Farms meats because I was hungry and I needed lunch.
I walk in there and I go, okay, I'm only here for this thing, but the problem is that thing is always inevitably near the gun counter, and
yep. Well, and it was funny because I was doing a little bit of investigation just for my own morbid curiosity, and I went back to the gun counter. They had 35 P320s on the shelf that are used trade-ins.
I can't imagine why that would be.
I saw that. I just busted up laughing, especially since half of them are now on clearance.
Yep. Because no one wants them. Have you
No.
seen that now? I don't know if you've noticed, but SIG has now locked down their Twitter.
Yes. Because they just keep getting trolled ruthlessly.
You know, the thing that's insane about this whole saga, right? If you've been living under a rock, so if you've been living under a rock for a while, or you're not really into guns. Well, if you're not really into guns, I don't know why you're watching this show. But if
we're a little bit gun, we have a bit of the guntism, okay? So
the entire background behind me is all gun patents. There's a tank shell from World War II.
This entire shelf that I'm pointing at right here is nothing but empty brass from manufacturing my own ammo.
I have Gun Jesus watching over me.
There's a gun case right here. Oh
man.
Sorry, complete train of thought derailment. A week ago, I picked up a brand new bolt gun.
Okay.
So I've been hunting with the 6.5 284, right?
Okay.
And that thing is so, I mean, even reloading, trying to find new brass for it is a bitch. Like, you cannot find it. And if you can, you're getting 50 pieces of brass for $100. And you get about 7-8 loadings out of it, but still. I'm not getting rid of that rifle because I love that gun. I don't have very many thousand yard guns in my collection. That is easily a 1,000-yard gun. But I found a guy who was selling a Bigara B14.
Okay.
Chambered in 6.5 Creed. And I already hand load for 6.5 Creed. So it's like, I don't have to buy more brass. I don't have to buy more bullets. I just have to find the load that works for that gun, right?
Yeah.
And those things go for like $950 new MSRP. I got it for $7.25 brand new in the box.
Nice. That's a solid discount. I'll take a 20% discount all day.
Right. And then I turned around and I was gonna go to VGS. Bo in the chat knows where VGS is. Everybody from Wisconsin who happens to watch this knows where VGS is. I was gonna go there and get a Diamondback, Vortex Diamondback for it. 4-16, basic, nothing special.
Yep.
They weren't going to get any until like Friday, and it was going to be $250 for a basic Diamondback because tariffs are a thing, right?
Yeah.
I went on Midway USA and found a Diamondback HP, which is a $450 MSRP scope, for $189.
Yeah, I jump on that pretty hard.
So I bought that and 2 boxes of Sierra Game Changer 140 grains. And it was like, it came to a total with shipping like $300. Worth it?
Yeah. I don't bother with 1,000-yard guns because I am not a 1,000-yard shooter. I'll be honest. I'm just not.
Well, I see Bo is asking where in Western Wisconsin am I shooting 1,000? There is literally one spot on the property that I hunt where if you set up the bench, you are just at the 50 feet off the center line that the DNR requires. And if you put a 10-inch gong back in this coulee, about halfway up the hill, it's 1,000 yards.
That's a long friggin' shot. And I don't have any, like, I don't, it's not that I don't have the talent that I could probably get good enough to do it. It's that I've never needed to. Like that is not that kind of range is not where that is not where I live. That is not where my talents
No,
live.
no. I'm not saying it's something I do regularly, but it is kind of fun to go out there and set up a 10-inch gong at $1,000. Go back there and just bang, bang, bing, bang, bing. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, I remember watching that video, that guy that he hits that gong at, God, what was it, like 2 miles or something, or almost 2
Yeah,
miles, and the amount of time between when the report happens and when you actually get the ding is comical. It is so long, knowing that that round is starting out supersonic.
it is subsonic by the time it's hitting there.
Yeah, it has definitely gone through the transverse barrier and is now subsonic by the time it hits. But when you consider what speed supersonic is, and that it still takes that long, that really hits home how
Yeah,
far that actually is, that it
yeah,
takes that long for that to
and
get
that's
there.
the best part is the 6.5 284. So if you load it to SAMI specifications, you're basically shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor plus P. It's really nothing more than that. But if you load it to the original Wildcat specifications in the 80s and 70s, now you're using Magnum powders like Rotumbo, Hodgkin Rotumbo, and Magnum primers, and you're pushing 140 grain 6.5 millimeter bullet at 3,200 feet per second or more.
That is a spicy meatball.
And I don't care what you're wearing for armor. You do not want that smoke within 1,000, because even at $1,000, you're still supersonic with that.
Yeah, like that might
You're
be a level 4
supersonic to
plate,
about,
but it's not going to matter.
no, the plate, even if it catches it, the deflection is going to cause you enough bodily injury that it ain't going to matter.
Yeah, that's that. It's like that back in the day when Matt from Demolition Ranch tested that like Chinese body armor that said it was like level 5 or whatever, and
Yeah.
hit it with a 50, and it stopped the 50, but like the back deformation
It
was
compressed when he had it wrapped around to the point. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, it wouldn't have gone through you, but
But you would have definitely had a bad time.
yeah, like that's just a whole different set of injuries now. Think of what
Hey,
that energy transfer would have to be, like 700 grain projectile impacting you and deforming, and at the range that he shot it at, that was still freaking flying. So
So I have actually I have Bo on my fascist book friends list, and he just sent me a picture of his 6.5. He says, I've had it for 4 years and I haven't put 3 boxes through it.
because it's expensive as shit.
Well, it's 6.5 Creedmoor. It ain't that expensive. I mean, I just bought 2 boxes. I just bought 2 boxes of Nosler hunting ammunition at VGS for $21.95 a box.
Okay, well, it's not that bad.
I mean, granted, you go just about anywhere else, and you're talking about probably $30 a box for 20 rounds, which still isn't terrible.
It's still expensive. Like anytime you get up over $1 a round, you're getting expensive.
Everything other than pistol is $1 a round now, except for 5.56.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I only have one 5.56 gun, and we're not going to talk about that one.
So, but that's my point. Is anything over intermediate cartridge? I mean, even 7.62 by 39. Most of even your cheap shit 7.62 by 39 these days is over $1 a round.
That's true. That's true. I remember when you could get spam cans for nothing.
Right. I remember buying spam cans of like what 350 rounds in a spam can for those.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
And you could buy an entire spam can for like $85.
Yeah. They were just people just stack up these piles of them and just run through so many friggin' rounds in a weekend and be like, whatever, it cost me nothing anyway. Now I look back at those days when we used to do that and I'm like, why?
Oh, and Bo, just so you know, if you really want to sometime, hit me up when I'm going, and I'll let you know next time I'm going down to the farm, and we'll get you set up on on the 1,000-yard target, as long as the cows aren't out in the pasture over there.
Yeah, that's probably a little important.
Oh, that happened one time. I was out there and the cows were out milling about, but they were about 10 degrees off to the left and behind a closed gate, so I wasn't too worried about it. And I know my hold back there, so it's not like I was concerned. But I touched off 5 rounds and banged the gong each time. And the brother of the guy that owns the land that I hunt on, they're co-owners, he comes down the hill and sees me shooting back there. He is reaming me up one side and down the other, like, there's the cow. It's like, dude, I'm shooting over here. The cows are over there. And even at 1,000 yards, there's a significant amount of difference between where I'm going and where that's going to go.
Yeah, there's hundreds of feet between the two. You're fine.
And especially since he's the guy who every year tells us we're on a kill on sight order for the deer out there. Like he doesn't care if it's a monster deer or that year's fawn. Shoot the damn thing.
Yeah, and there's no other way to control herds.
Right. And he probably suffers about $50,000 a year in crop damage from the amount of deer in that valley.
Yep. So thanks,
he's like, right? He's like, kill on sight, don't care. And so I'm like, last year I shot a deer in your pasture at 600 yards. Where do you think I practiced those shots? It's right here.
Oh, yeah. So we know we're 15 minutes in. Hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. Before we get started, as always, going to remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use, reuse, and redistribution of this podcast in its part or entirety by anyone and everyone except for governments and their operatives. If you're curious about BIPCOT, you can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, as well as a slew of other Supreme Court decisions which back it up, which state that inflammatory speech cannot be punished unless that speech is designed and likely to cause imminent lawless action. Everything we say is neither designed to cause imminent lawless action, nor would anyone take us seriously in any way, shape, or form, so it's not like it's likely to. I mean, there's like 4 people that listen to us.
If you take us seriously, seek help.
Yes, I actually, you know what's funny is I was just laughing before I got on the show where I was like, I got to go talk to myself. Well, not myself. I got to talk to Chris. But we're basically just talking to each other. Occasionally, I'm told people listen. Yeah, well, occasionally I'm told people listen, but if anybody knows who those people are, like maybe be concerned for them.
It'd be awesome if the people who do actually listen, after the fact. I mean, we got Bo in the chat, and usually we end up with about maybe 3, I think is the most I've ever seen in the chat. It'd be awesome if we got some comments on, the audio only or the Rumble channel, or any of the other. Leave us some comments so we know you're actually listening and not just putting us on to fall asleep to.
I mean, I do
understand.
Yeah, I mean, we do get messages. So one of my favorite things that happens from us being the show that we are and making the content that we do is that we get a lot of what I like to call fan mail and really big fans. We've had a few that we've actually had to ban from our live streams and stuff that just were obnoxious. And it's like, at what point did I directly piss in your Cheerios, bro? Like, I don't know what I did to you that like makes you so incredibly angry, but like you should maybe be talking to a therapist, because if my little self is causing you that much distress, like, you have some mental problems.
Although I will say, and I don't speak for Andrew, I speak primarily just for myself. If you happen to listen or watch and you run into me out there, which has happened, I've talked about it on the show before. If you run into me out there in the wild and you want to come talk to me, you're good. I'm not going to tell you to leave me the hell alone. Andrew might, because he's a dick.
I also am probably going to look at you like, you pay attention to anything I say? No one does that.
Right. I mean, the funniest thing is the guy that I ran into in the Dells. I was wearing my Stick This On hat with the tropical fish from Dave, and he recognized me from that. Where I was wearing the same hat Andrew's got on with his autism patch, but with our magnificent tropical fish patch from Dave at Poppins Patches.
Oh man, speaking of tropical, by the way, I have my Six Semper Tyrannis flag, similar to the one that's behind you, but it's got the Six Semper Tyrannis in the corner.
Right
and here? And I have that up right now and in my office, and so as people are coming through, because my landlord is selling my house, there's a giant stack of gun cases immediately underneath the Six Semper Tyrannis flag. So
they get a little antsy.
Yeah, and I have my Hawaiian Wisconsin flag up on my door to the office.
I've got that one around here somewhere too. I just really like this one as a backdrop. This is, in my mind, this kind of encompasses everybody.
Oh yeah, well, and I also, in addition to all of the weaponry and everything in the office, I also, of course, in my bedroom, I have a bunch of autographs from my ex-girlfriend and stuff that are up, and some of her friends, and we have those up, and so it's always hilarious to watch how uncomfortable people get and how fast they want to just like leave again. And it's like, you're in my house, like, what do you want? This is my house. Right. I didn't ask you to be here.
You want to buy this rental property? Guess what? I'm still living here, bitches.
Yeah, well, and I keep having to correct realtors that all of the kitchen cabinets and counters are in fact mine and will be coming with me if I move out. That they're not part of the house.
Really?
Because when I moved into this house, there are absolutely no cabinets and like no actual counters in the kitchen at all. There's one tiny counter that's right next to the sink and directly underneath the one like storage cabinet that's above it. That's it. There was no other cabinets, no counters, no nothing. Everything that's here is mine. And it's all built on wheels and stuff so that it's easy to move. So, and it will all come with me, along with the back stairs, by the way, that will be coming with me. Those are also mine. So
that's mine. That's mine. Mine too.
Yeah. Well, and I was like, I was like, because they're saying something about like my double flush toilet because I have the two separate water volumes for the flushing. And like, oh, that's fancy. I'm like, I put that in like a year ago. And they said something about sinking. I'm like, I put that in like 2 years ago. And I'm like, I built those stairs. Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, I also did that. Like, all of this stuff that makes this place nice is me, brah. Like, that is not the property manager. That is not the landlord.
I did this. And if you kick me out when you buy this place, guess what? All this nice shit goes with me.
Yeah, I still have the original sink. The original faucet that will go back on. Like, I will take it with me. Like, I still have all the old crap shit that I removed and will put back before I leave. So it's like, you understand that what you will be getting will be the slum that I originally moved into.
Right.
So
actually, anyway. As bad as that sounds, the last stop that we made on our, because it was just my wife and I making the trip to Madison today. Our oldest in-house daughter watched the Smalls for us. We go and do our stuff, right? And we stopped at Fleet Farm in DeForest. I almost bought a shotgun there. They had a marine finish, so like the nitrided stainless.
Okay.
Security barrel shotgun, 12 gauge. It was a Turkish import, but it was a pump action. You can't fuck up a pump action.
Well, the Spaz 12 is technically a pump action.
But it's also, as a pump, it works. When you put it in semi-auto, it's a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, and I'm pretty sure Cobra made at least one pump action, and if there is anyone who could manage to screw up a pump action shotgun, it would be Cobra.
That's true.
Like,
No, this was a Turkish manufactured shotgun. It was a stainless barrel and stainless tube magazine. But it had the marine finish, so it's designed to withstand the elements. To be used in, say you're going duck hunting in the rain. Not that I would use an 18.5-inch barrel for duck hunting in the rain, but I liked the look. I liked the feel. It was less than $300.
wow, that's solid.
I stood there and I had that thing in my hand for a solid 25 minutes. Going, I want this. I want to take it home. I want to buy it. I don't need it because I have another one, but I really like it. But I don't need it but I really like it.
But I like it. Yeah, it's I get that.
So I didn't end up bringing it home. If it's still down there in 2 weeks, I might.
I did that. I did that a few years ago with an Omni AR.
Yeah.
The plastic on and they wanted like $150 for it at this like hardware store.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I mean, it's crap, and I know it's crap, but it's $150 AR, which means that I can do whatever I want to it and just never feel bad.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So like I was like, I don't really, but it's only 100, but it's only 150. I wound up buying it and then beat the ever loving crap out of it.
So I know you like Teeling, right? Sorry, train of thought derailment. You like Teeling. Have you ever had the Teeling small batch?
Yeah, that's the main one. That's my favorite of theirs. That's their standard regular stuff.
So I picked this one up at Woodman's. They had them on sale. I think they're regular like 42, and they had them on sale for 35. So I picked this.
Yeah, they used to be about $30. They've gone up a little bit. But yeah, the small batches they're main. Yeah, well, and I've got the small batches they're main. Yep, they have single grain, single pot, black pits, which I do not recommend in any way, shape, or form. Do not get black pits; it's horrid.
I had that so I've told you about the Irish pub here in town. I've tried to tell you need to come down. You and I should go.
Yeah,
they had the black pits. I tried to
disinfectant. It's just disinfectant. It's because it's so smoky. It's god. It's as soon as I tried it, I'm like, this has the up front. It's like a meaty smoked leather, and then after you try it, you're like, this has the distinct aftertaste of the inside of a freshly sanitized hospital. And it is not a pleasant experience. I don't want that in my mouth.
No, that's what she said.
Oh. But I did have so I did get a while back. I got the Teeling. It's a California exclusive Teeling that's aged in I want to say like ruby port cask.
Yes, you told me about that. I wanted to try it, but you took it to your whiskey club, so there was none left.
Yeah, there wasn't anything left. It was good. It wasn't as good as I had hoped at the price that it was, but it was, because it's $100 for a bottle.
Right.
So I hope for a little bit better, but it wasn't bad. I mean, and $100 is kind of becoming an average price for a lot of whiskeys. Stuff. Yeah. I just saw like one of my favorite whiskeys in the entire world, the Belveni 14-year Caribbean cask, or sorry, 16-year Caribbean cask.
Yeah.
One of my absolute top 2 favorite whiskeys ever. Normally it was like $75, and it's like 140 to 160 now.
Yeah, that checks out.
So
I stopped actually. There's a liquor store in Boston. Fantastic place, really. They have a no fee ATM, and there's no upcharge if you pay cash.
Nice.
If you pay with a card, there's a 5% upcharge. But pay cash, use an no-fee ATM, buy whatever the hell you want, no upcharge. I went in there and they had, I'm terrible, but they were doing a tasting that day. They pour you a half a shot of their premium stuff because they were trying to move it. They hadn't sold a lot of their premium stuff in a while. They were trying to move it. So they cracked a bottle of each one. And they pour you a half a shot. You could taste it. Yeah, I might have spent way too much money on high-end
that's yeah. Well, I mean, once you have it, and like I tell people, because I encounter people all the time who are like, "Hey, I don't really like whiskeys. I'm not really a whiskey person. I've never liked whiskeys." Well, no, you don't like the whiskeys that you've had. That is not the same as good
quality whiskey.
Yeah, once you've had good whiskeys,
yes,
you realize you really like whiskeys. And I will say right now, because we had talked before about like MGP and how like everything's MGP. Everything's MGP. Penelope, their juice when it starts is all just basic MGP, and then they basically use different aging processes on it. So different kinds of wood and everything else. Absolutely awesome. Highly recommend trying the Penelopes. I really like the rosé cask one, where it's bourbon that's aged in a rosé cask.
Seriously?
It's really, really good, and it's like 40 something bucks. Where do I
find that?
They have it for sure at Quick Liquor here in town. I believe Hy-Vee has it. I know Woodman's has it. Festival, it's going to depend on the festival, but
you're going to have to go next time I'm down that way and I'm doing a liquor run. You're going to have to meet me at Woodman's so we can find some of this shit. That's where I found. I have two different Teelings here. I have the single cask, and I've got what the fuck is this one? Small batch, and I've got another one. I think it's not the single grain. It's the other one that they have at Woodman's up there.
So the single pot.
Yes.
Because there's single. They have a single grain, a single pot. I'm not a huge fan of like most whiskeys that are like, I much prefer blends, and I realize that makes me a kind of an oddity in a lot of the whiskey world, but like single malts and single pots and stuff, they're interesting, but they're never like a repeat drink. Like there's something to try, but I never want to go back to that because like it was an experience. It was interesting to get those flavors and find out what those flavors individually are, but they're not interesting enough that like I want to go back. But when you get blends, because the blend is being purpose made to taste a certain way and have certain flavors in it and everything, those tend to actually be things that I want to go back and I want to try, I want to have again, also because they're consistent, unlike a lot of those singles. So, and I realized,
well, and I don't know if I ever told the story here on the show, but I know I told you what really got me into whiskey in the first place. So, growing up, as a 21-year-old borderline alcoholic, going out to the bars with our friends, they'd buy me shots of different whiskeys and stuff. It's like, if I wanted to taste turpentine, I would just leave my gas can out in the sun for a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, it's like people are like, "Oh, I love Jack Daniels." No, you don't.
No, you don't. No,
you don't. No one does.
No one. But the first time I ever had decent, I won't say good. I will not say good because I have since expanded my, my scope of what good whiskey actually is. But the first semi-decent whiskey I ever had was actually on Fremont Street on somebody else's dime.
Yeah.
In Vegas.
I mean, if you're going to drink good whiskeys, you might as well drink them when somebody else
It wasn't, I won't say it was a good whiskey, especially now. I won't say it was a good whiskey. It was Black Crown.
I don't like Canadian whiskeys.
Like I said, I didn't say it was a good whiskey. I said it was a decent. Black Crown is decent. So if all you're doing is you want a good thing to sit around a fire and sip on, Black Crown is a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I will say if you've never had like High West is really good for that. They
Mm-hmm.
even have a campfire whiskey that actually is a really good can. It comes with like a little tin cup to drink it
Well,
out of. And
I know what you're
super great.
talking about. Yes.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Has
There's
a
a
smoky
few that
flavor to it, actually.
yeah. There's Yellowstone isn't bad. I actually like Yellowstones. For really reasonable price though, Old Forester seriously is absolutely amazing for its price.
Sure.
Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. Especially Old Forester is great because it's so strongly flavored that the flavors still come through in cocktails even when they're other ingredient heavy, and it
Yeah.
still winds up being whiskey forward, which is a really nice thing to have on hand in your liquor cabinet. It's not something you want to drink on its own necessarily, but it's great for cocktails because it still comes through, and that's really
Well,
really nice.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Liquorcast.
Yeah, apparently that's we're just hey man, I survive on rage, chaos, and sometimes whiskey. Like that's pretty much
Dude, I survive
my
on.
my life.
I don't. Shit, I don't know where that patch went, but I have a patch that says I survive on caffeine and hate. And then
Yep.
I have a glass that says coffee, you're on the bench, whiskey or alcohol soda.
Yeah. Like
So,
so
I mean,
I'm good with a little whiskey talk here. It's we could talk
um,
3 hours, we could but we do have a
there,
lot of articles. A lot
we
of
do.
articles.
One
I
last thing I want to mention is I MGP. We Andrew and I talked about MGP. I think the last time we were on an episode here, and I found one. It's called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, which, I mean, who wouldn't? Who with a DD 214 wouldn't sit there and go, I gotta try it.
well, and that's why they name it that way, but it's ultimately just
Right.
an MGP in it.
It
Which
is,
is
and
not a bad whiskey. It's just
it it,
it just exists. And
it just exists. It's rail quality whiskey, but it's actually smoother than most of your rail whiskeys.
I don't even know if I would put it down on a rail. Like most MGPs are a little too expensive for rail, but
Maybe half a step above a rail.
It depends. It depends on which MGP, what they're doing to it after they buy it and if they do anything with it
Yeah,
after they buy it from MGP. If you don't know what MGP is, you guys can look it up, but they're the largest like whiskey producers in the world. Like they just produce a generic bourbon and then sell it 90%, 95% of your craft bourbons that are out there are just MGP. That's all it is. It's just MGP in a different bottle.
yeah,
Especially
more
if
or
it's a
less.
fancy bottle, it's almost guaranteed to be an MGP, which again is not a bad whiskey. It's just not a it's
Not a
just an
great
MGP.
whiskey either.
After you've tasted the exact same whiskey in a bunch of different bottles, like 500 times, you start to go, yeah, it's an MGP, whatever. But anyway, I want to
The
start
sad thing
out.
is the sad thing is I am not a part of your whiskey club, and I'm getting to that point. Like
Yeah.
I'll go to the store, I'll pick up a bottle, like, oh, that looks interesting. Look at the back, MGP. Never mind.
So I want to start out with this article because it's local and it's very close to home for me. Wisconsin's new vape law could put local shops out of business.
I saw
Uh,
this and it pissed
this
me the
is
fuck off.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. So a new state law set to take effect on September 1st could put hundreds of vape shops out of business. The law mandates that vaping products can only be sold if they are FDA approved and are state certified. If the products don't meet those requirements, store owners could face fines of $1,000 per unit.
So essentially, if you are not in the state of Wisconsin, and I apologize to all of our Wisconsin brethren who happen to listen, all 6 of you, thank you for listening. But essentially, if you are a vapor and you go to these different shops, most of them are not going to exist because the FDA under RFK Jr. is looking at a lot of these different ingredients and stuff. They're going, no, they're not approving it. The state of Wisconsin's not approving it. Yeah, well, exactly. Quit. You quit drinking, but motherfuckers fucking with your vape. Exactly. See, my problem is I picked up drinking because I stopped vaping.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Is there are a number of already FDA approved vaping products. Those are being put out by companies like Juul, which, by the way, is owned by Big Tobacco. It is only the Big Tobacco companies who are getting the FDA approvals right now. In response to new law, Wisconsin trade group called Wisco Fast has filed a lawsuit against the Department of Revenue. The lawsuit argues that the law interferes with the FDA's responsibility to regulate vaping products at the federal level, and with the state's heavy fines and limited time to comply, the group is pushing for an injunction to stop the law from going into effect, fearing it could devastate local businesses without a fair chance to adapt. At M of N Vapors in Sun Prairie, owner Dave McMurray says the financial burden would force him to file for bankruptcy. So just walking in here right now, it'd be somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million fine per day.
Jesus Christ.
Needless to say, with fines like that over my head, I won't be open. While the Department of Revenue's official list of FDA-approved products is not yet available, the unofficial list currently includes only 17 items made by only 3 manufacturers.
There are thousands of different types of carts and everything out there. Jesus, this would completely cripple the vaping industry in Wisconsin.
So here's the other fun thing about this is the navigation of the application process to get preliminary approval from the FDA for your products is so complex. Most vape juice companies in particular do not know how to navigate it. They cannot figure it out. So there is a very small group of all very small vape shops. One of them is E-Cig Warehouse here in town. Ethan over there has been leading a charge really, really hard on it, trying to walk these companies through how to do the preliminary approval process. Bo, I see it. You go to the Southside Smokes. They're running out of juices and finding it harder and harder to get them from the suppliers that they have. Go to E-Cig, and he is fully stocked. Still, he's promised that even if he has to just sell the nicotine liquid and then also flavorings to make sure that people can still get their vape juice, like that he'll do that to get around the regs. He can't mix it for you, but he can certainly give you the ingredients because those are all legal to sell on their own. I
like him. I like him already.
Yeah,
I don't even vape anymore. I don't vape. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that shit anymore. But I like it. Go find this. Go find this. Go find this. You're good.
Yeah, exactly. He's been pretty awesome about it the whole time and managing to make everything work. And it's just he's a real talker. So if you go in there, your 20-minute trip is not going to be 20 minutes. It's going to be 3 hours. But Kelvin Sorchi, another Sun Prairie shop owner, expressed frustration over the fate of his unsellable inventory. It's not right when businesses like myself have hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory that we're just supposed to throw away. The state's effectively giving them, with this new law that's just in Wisconsin, the state's effectively giving them less than a month to completely comply with a thing that the federal government gave them an extended period of time to try and get complied with.
Yep. It's more or less just a way to screw the small business owner, unfortunately.
Well, and I'm not going to sit here and say that.
To put that. I mean,
yeah, and I'm not going to say that nicotine is healthy, right? Like nicotine just isn't. It's not healthy for you, but like.
But in small
neither
doses,
is too much sun.
Is actually in small doses, nicotine's fantastic for you. Actually.
Yeah,
as somebody who doesn't chronically use nicotine, I'll admit, the few times I have used it chronically is about the most clear mentally I've been.
It is a stress reliever.
It is, and I don't knock people for using nicotine. Smoking is gross just because I hate the stink of cigarettes.
Well, and in the article, if you go into the link, and obviously, like all of our articles, the link is in the description to the article. If you go in there, they interview a couple customers who straight up said, like, switching to vaping is the only way I quit smoking, and I don't want to go back to smoking. I hate the way it smells. I hate the way it covers everything in a residue. Like,
it says right here, I'm not going back to cigarettes because those are nasty, so I can't. I have no idea at this point. I'm in denial, I guess, a little bit. Until the day comes, I can't come and get one, says Cassie Cheek Benton. I don't know what we're going to do because my kids don't like the smell of smoke. I don't want to be at work smelling like smoke. Yeah, exactly. The stink of smoking is one thing. Vaping doesn't leave the stink behind.
It doesn't. Vaping, so when you like, vape is just water vapor that you're exhaling, so it doesn't leave any kind of bad smells. It can leave a little bit of a residue in large amounts just because it's it's glycerin, vegetable glycerin, or propylene glycol that's in it. But the thing is like it isn't unhealthy like smoking is, right? Like, it doesn't have all of those extra additives. It doesn't have all the stuff that you get from the smoke. The popcorn lung thing happens with THC carts because it's the result of non-inhalant safe things as well as too high of temperatures, none of which happen on a regular vape. It's absolutely ridiculous. And but the biggest thing here is I just want to point out, less than 30 days to comply or face fines of millions of dollars per day.
$1,000 per unapproved product
per day. And that's each individual bottle. That isn't just, this line of product. That is each individual bottle of juice, each little disposable. Every individual one is $1,000 fine.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of dollars per day in fines, and you get less than 30 days to comply. That is insane.
That checks out, though, with the average state or federal government requirement.
Like, what's going to happen, like, for me, because I live on the border with Minnesota, is I'm just going to pop over to Minnesota and just go buy vape juices there. It's annoying, but doable.
If you're over by where I'm at, though, that's not an option.
Yeah, that's not an option. For the majority of people in the state, that's not going to be an option. And, like, these people they don't want to go back to smoking, but they're not ready to give up nicotine entirely. And nor is it the government's business if they want to use it. Like, they're consenting adults. Let them do what they want to do. All right. But, like, if I want to inhale my blue raspberry menthol flavored air, let me do that and stop interfering with it, because the only reason that all these laws are getting passed in the first frickin' place is to protect big tobacco. It was because big tobacco was losing so much revenue.
It makes me wonder, how is that going to impact people who are trying to kick the habit using things like fume?
So the thing is if it's an FDA approved thing, they'll be fine. But if it's a regular product, so like for me, I couldn't quit smoking for years and years and years, and I was a pack and a half a day smoker for years.
Sure.
I could not stop until I started vaping.
Okay.
And I tried so many things. I even tried an experimental process that used dark chocolate with lavender in it.
All right.
It almost worked. It did. It helped. It reduced my cigarette intake, but only by a bit.
See, it's funny to me. It's wild to me when I hear stories like that. Sorry for the glare. I took my hat off. So, like, for me, I quit smoking. I smoked about half a pack a day for a year and a half. The day I turned 16 or 17, the day I turned 17, I handed my pack of smokes to my mom and went, I'm done with this shit. And I walked away. I don't understand. Like my sister has been a half a pack a day or a pack more a day, a smoker, for years. I have no idea how the hell I walked up to my mom, handed her my pack of cigarettes, and went, "I'm done."
Yeah, I can't even imagine just walking away from smokes. But yeah, so 30 days or millions of fines per day. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's
Since we're
ridiculous.
talking about government doing absolutely absurd things, Richmond Heights police use facial recognition to identify women twerking on cop car.
I mean, did they really do any damage?
According to them, there's a scratch and a slight dent.
Fuck off. I get a scratch and a slight dent driving to work every fucking day.
Have you seen?
Eat a
Have you
bag
ever?
of dicks.
Have you ever bought or like looked at used cop cars that go on the market and the kind of condition they're
Right?
in just from the way the cops treat them? And you're gonna, oh, they did damage. No, it's so. Here's
Dude,
the thing, though.
there
It isn't
no,
even just
dude,
that they
there
did
was one
damage.
there was one for sale from one of the local departments not too far from me. The frame was caved in by about 14 degrees.
Yeah.
And they called it structurally sound, but they were selling it for $5,000.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just from regular use, right? But here's the thing: these cops. It isn't even that they did damage that we're talking about, like whether or not they did or not. It's the fact that they used facial recognition AI software to track them down for twerking on their cop car. So police in Northeast Ohio turned to facial recognition technology to track down several dirty dancers. Video captured back in June by a dashboard camera on Richmond Heights police cruiser shows multiple women twerking on the cop car. Police said one of the women climbed up on the push bumper and another climbed up and began dancing on the hood. Police said the dancing caused some damage to the cruiser. There's a small dent and a little crease here. We didn't decide to fix that at this time. There was a pretty significant scratch that was about probably from here to here, he said, pointing out the damage.
They didn't even fix the damage. So the damage was done to the vehicle. They didn't fix it, but they wanted to find the people so they could arbitrarily charge them with criminal damage to property.
So badly they wanted to find them that they deployed the kind of technology that normally is used to track down terrorists. With the help of the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center, police identified the women using facial recognition software called Clearview AI. Police said the software also searches social media accounts and other databases to confirm identities. Richmond police have identified two of the three women and have issued arrest warrants.
Jesus Christ. Arrest warrants for dancing on a car.
Arrest warrants for twerking on a police vehicle that caused minimal damage. Not just arrest warrants, but arrest warrants were issued because they used an advanced facial recognition AI software that not only identifies your face, but then cross-references it with an ID database and also all of your social media.
What I find hilarious about this is there's a picture in the article that grays out anything that could be considered identifying.
How? yeah.
How the fuck is the AI identifying these people?
It's facial recognition. If you have any visible tattoos, it'll look at the tattoos and cross-reference those.
But how many people have visible tattoos?
A lot. And, especially a lot of people who would think that it made sense to twerk on a cop car.
Well, and how many people will have like a visible tattoo on an arm or a small of the back or something like that? How many other people have the same fucking tattoo?
But they don't have the same eye to nose to mouth ratios, and it cross-references it. This is how the AI works. I looked up Clearview. It advertises that it can find people incredibly rapidly. So it takes what used to take police possibly days, even in the 21st century with social media, and it reduces it to minutes. Yay, AI! Hooray for technology. Uncle Ted was right about some things.
I'm not gonna say privately owned nuclear weapons are justified, but at a certain point where the computers can identify you from random weird characteristics, EMPs become necessary.
Yeah. Speaking of technology and how great it is, you know what is a really great use of technology?
I'm afraid
Sending money to the government voluntarily.
I remember sending this to the group chat, and the whole group was like, "What?"
Venmo and PayPal users can now send money to the U.S. government to help pay down $36.7 trillion in national debt.
That
One,
is based on current estimates of the U.S. populace. $36.7 trillion equates to over $100,000 per person. That's not per taxpayer. That's
just
per person. That includes minors and babies
I was saying,
who were born within the last 24 hours.
So here's first of all, I want to say that
Christ.
I want to I recommend keeping this link on hand so that when you get into arguments with statists who say something about how they would absolutely, that they don't have a problem paying their fair share and blah blah blah, and they absolutely want the government to have take more money, just send that to them. The U.S. Treasury Department is now accepting Venmo and PayPal payments from those who want to donate money to reduce the nation's ballooning $36.7 trillion debt. The digital payment, God damn you, pop-ups. The digital payment platforms can be used after accessing the Gifts to Reduce the Public Debt page on pay.gov, NPR's Jack Corbett noted. The expansion of payment options comes amid growing public concern over the debt, which has surged from $19.59 trillion in 2010 to its current level, an increase of 87%, according to the Treasury Department.
Jesus.
Now, here's what's interesting. This donation program, okay, the Gifts to Reduce the Public Debt donation program, has existed since 1996.
Almost
it has
30
a total,
years. Almost
and it has
30 years.
And it has gotten a total of $67.3 million contributed.
They have oh my God. $37 trillion. And they have gotten a grand total of
67.3 million.
67.3 million
in 30 years.
That tells you just how much those people who say they just need to pay their fair share actually want to do anything to help.
Yeah. So Samson Mao, CEO of Bitcoin technology firm Jan3, compared the effort to, quote, sending Bitcoin to a burn address, end quote. President Donald Trump recently enacted Big Beautiful Bill is projected to add an additional $3.4 trillion to the debt over the next decade, according to the nonpartisan CBO. The legislation prompted a public dispute between Trump and Tesla CEO Elon Musk, which was hilarious to watch, by the way, who criticized the bill for raising the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. Despite the Treasury's new push for public donations, the scale of the debt continues to raise questions about the sustainability of U.S. fiscal policy and the effectiveness of such symbolic gestures.
Now, I will state, in the essence of fairness, that June was the first month since 2001 to post a surplus. There was like a $65 million surplus.
Oh, that wasn't a surplus. That was a budget surplus.
That's That's what I mean.
That was a budget surplus.
But even since 2001, that was the first budget surplus posted by the U.S. federal government in 25 years.
Yeah. But all a budget, you got to remember, all a budget surplus means, and people love to go, well, Clinton gave us a budget surplus. No. First of all, Reagan and Bush Sr. gave us a budget surplus. Clinton rode that wave. That being said, a budget surplus just means that the government said it was going to spend, or projected that it needed to spend more money than it actually did. That's all that means.
That's all. Yep, that's it.
If I was planning on having to pay $1,000 car payment and I only got a $500 car payment, I could say that I had a $500 budget surplus. That doesn't mean that I'm not going into debt.
Right.
Now, here's what's interesting. Bridgewater and Associates founder Ray Dalio is sounding the alarm, warning that the country is at growing risk fiscal crisis unless urgent policy changes are made. Dalio has repeatedly likened the mounting debt to plaque and arteries, cautioning the cost of servicing the debt is severely diminishing purchasing power. Quote, "We are spending 40% more than our income," he said, adding that we're approaching the point where we may need to borrow more money just to pay the interest on our existing debt. This is the classic debt death spiral.
So this has been something that's been talked about for years, about according to the currently as framed Constitution, money to pay the interest and on our debt as a country is mandatory spending. So when 40% of the money that the federal government minimum is spending is going to pay on the debt, we are dangerously close to that 50-50 line.
It's not just going to pay. Keep in mind that right now it's not just going to pay the debt. It's not paying the debt.
It's paying just the interest
on the debt.
It's just paying the interest. I was getting to that. It's literally just paying the interest on the debt. 40%.
The U.S. federal debt is the equivalent of like you going, like the way U.S. spending is and has been for a very, 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 very long time, is the equivalent of going and getting payday loans and then using other payday loans to pay your prior payday loans and just keep doing that.
Yes.
That's what the federal government has been doing for a century. Actually, slightly more than a century. Slightly more than a century. The last time that the United States had a balanced budget where it truly only spent what it brought in, and actually less than it brought in tax revenue, was under Andrew Jackson.
It's been a minute.
It's been a little bit.
Jesus Christ. Andrew Jackson. Fifth president? Fourth president?
Jackson was my to the Googles. I don't remember offhand. Andrew Jackson was the seventh president of the United States.
So
under the Constitution.
We made it right. So that we made it under the Constitution, assuming all of his predecessors served 2 terms. Seventh
Which
president.
they didn't. I don't think.
They did not. A maximum of 28 years. Maximum. Not
what major thing?
Andrew Jackson was elected to the presidency in 1829. No, I think he took over in 1829.
So can I just point out something too? Is that what do we all remember Andrew Jackson very vehemently opposed? Do you remember what his biggest thing that he massively opposed, like aggressively, like straight up got into duels over? Other than
You'll have
Indians.
to enlighten me because
The creation of the Federal Reserve. Because he said that once the Federal Reserve was created, the nation would descend into a debt spiral until it imploded. Huh.
it's almost like central banking is a problem.
Almost. Yeah. So I just wanted to point out, if you have any friends who go, or any online encounters with somebody who wants to go on and on about how taxation isn't theft, and therefore you should just be willing to pay for these things, send them the link to that article and make sure, or to pay.gov, and point out, well, you can even use Venmo or PayPal now to go ahead and pay the federal government more money than you need to.
I'm going to say that this is not legal advice, but understand that it is illegal to not file your taxes. There is no law actually saying it's illegal to not pay them.
Well,
not saying this is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney. All I'm saying is it's illegal to not file a return. It is not, however, illegal to not pay the difference.
Some of us haven't filed returns in years and years and years and have suffered no ill effect. But that's like mostly because we're all paying in more than we actually need to. They're taking out more than they need to, and they know that they just owe us an enormous amount of money, so they're like just going to let it go. But
that's why I said this is not legal advice. This is not tax advice. I am not a lawyer, nor am I a tax expert. All I'm saying is, according to the tax code, it's illegal to not file your taxes.
I just want to point out, though,
to not pay them.
Like, talk about, like, again, we talk about performative things on this show a lot. And I just want to think about how performative donating extra money to the federal government to help pay down a $37 trillion debt. Like, it's literally going to have less effect than you pissing in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Because at least when you piss in the ocean, you're affecting a small area, but you're affecting absolutely nothing at all by sending more money to the federal government, which is why no one does it.
Right. Which is why it's been a program in place for 30 years, and they've got less than $100 million in additional donations.
If they had gotten $100 billion in donations, it wouldn't have been anywhere close to actually affecting anything.
You're still talking 3 extra zeros before it actually makes to anything resembling anything other than a rounding error.
Speaking of government spending a bunch of money on stupid things, the Trump administration is spending $130,000 to burn $800,000 worth of food meant for hungry children.
Wait, what?
One of President Donald Trump's hallmark promises during his 2024 campaign was that he would target waste. It's a good goal. The federal government is not exactly famous for being savvy with resources, and few politicians appear seriously interested in addressing that problem. A recent report calls into question how serious the Trump administration is about applying this ethos, and is a reminder that a commitment to fiscal responsibility also requires a commitment to efficiency. That's because the government, it turns out, is going to incinerate about 500 metric tons of emergency food that is often used for victims of disasters abroad and was specifically purchased for hungry children. One of Trump's first initiatives in January was to dismantle much of the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's USAID, which has a history of funding ideologically driven projects that have absolutely no business being paid for by taxpayers. There were good reasons to slash funding for that agency. The food here, however, had already been purchased and there was no returning it. In that vein, when the administration reined in U.S. aid, Secretary of State Marco Rubio promised Congresspeople on the House Appropriations Committee that he would make sure the government sent the food to its intended beneficiaries, according to The Atlantic. Whatever you think about foreign aid, that would seem the obvious decision to make.
It's already been bought and paid for. Why wouldn't you just send the shit?
Yeah, again, the food, which is high energy biscuits that are intended to supply young children with their nutritional needs in disasters and starvation scenarios, had already been paid for to the tune of $800,000. But that delivery never happened, and now the near $1 million supply is about to expire, as food typically does after it sits for months. Perhaps most ironic is that under the previous protocol, the agency could have passed the food off to a global relief organization that at effectively no cost to the budget. Instead, per The Atlantic, USAID was hamstrung from doing so under new approval requirements of the Trump administration, and so now taxpayers will spend an additional $130,000 to burn it.
So, oh my God, $800,000 to buy essentially what amounts to a nutrient cube. Let's call it, it's a nutrient cube. It'll keep you alive. It tastes like shit, but it'll keep you alive.
Right. Its purpose is not enjoyment. Its purpose is simply to meet the daily needs that you have.
Right.
Because there are natural disasters all over the world. There's, and like USA did supply huge amounts of food to like people in Thailand after the tsunami, and they helped Japan after the tsunami and the earthquake, and they did do those things. And this was one of the few things that they did that was not entirely ideologically driven and was actually like a beneficial thing that like, hey, help these people out. Like,
I actually helping people who are in legitimate need. As much as I hate the fact that the government pisses away billions of dollars, I'm okay with shit like that.
Like USAID was never and is never going to be as efficient as private aid organizations, right? Like Samaritan's Purse has done 100 trillion times more help than USAID ever would to people who actually need it.
Fucking Heb in Texas has done billions of dollars in more effective aid.
Oh yeah,
than USAID has ever.
Yeah, are you kidding me? The Creole Navy or Cajun Navy has done more to help people in natural disasters than USAID ever would. But this was already purchased, $800,000 worth of food that was just sitting there. All it needed to do was just go to somebody who needed it right at that point. That's the reasonable thing to do with all of this food. And the Trump administration went, no, we're going to spend an extra $130,000 to burn it, lest the innocent, suffering children get something that we already paid for them.
So let me ask you this, and this is just for the sake of argument. If you had $800,000 in nutrient-dense, let's just call it MREs, because MREs are nutrient and calorie dense, right?
I mean, thankfully they're not MREs, because if I had $800,000 in MREs, I would probably shoot myself. But
let's just, for the sake of argument, let's call it $800,000 in MREs, which have all of the essential nutrients that you need to survive, and all of the one MRE packet has all of the essential calories you need for one day. Okay?
Yep.
2,000 calories in a packet.
Yeah. And think about, well, actually it's more than that. It's like something like, if I remember right, those things are like something like 6,000 to 8,000 calories each.
Right.
Specifically because the assumption is that you're going to be burning a lot of calories walking everywhere and doing, disaster.
Right. I understand that, but let's, for the sake of argument, let's call it 2,500 calories. But you had $800,000 of those rations. Just here's a warehouse. They're sitting.
You could have handed those out to homeless people and been like, here, so that you're not starving and, you know, you don't have to beg for food for a while, where you could hand those out to them.
Homeless.
There's so many things you could do.
But instead, let's spend an additional $130,000 to just let's just throw that in the crematorium.
Yeah, this is, I mean, in some sense, a theme. Trump's Department of Governmental Efficiency, the DOGE, was another welcome idea that promised to address the same problems: waste, ridiculous government spending, insane national debt, and so on. It has, thus far, however, failed to spur much positive change, in part because the administration focused on making cuts, namely firing people, that drew media attention, but did not make any real dent in our spending problem in any appreciable way. Quote,
oh, shit.
We're left instead with the worst of both worlds. Agencies still impose the same heavy regulatory burdens, but in some cases now lack the personnel to administer them. Ryan Young, a senior economist at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, told Reason's Eric Boehm in May. That means delays and paralysis for the private sector, while the quality of governance gets even worse. It's one more example of this administration's laziness. They go for the quick headline grabbers, then call it a day. Trump's willingness to thrust the issues of waste and government spending into the limelight is still a good thing, but actions speak louder than words, at the risk of sounding queasily trite. And it is hard to think of something more wasteful than paying to essentially set hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on fire.
Essentially, that's what they've been doing for the last, however godforsaken long. Right? They take our money at gunpoint and then turn around and piss it away on everything. They find me a project, whether it's defense contractor on down to USAID, whatever, that has ever been done in my lifetime on budget and on plan. Find me one.
Nothing is ever on budget when it comes to government. Nothing is ever.
No.
Don't forget, right? We did an article on this years ago when it first happened. There was that guy who built those stairs in that park
in Ohio.
For,
yes.
For like $100. And then the city came through, fined him for it, tore them out, and then spent like 10 grand to build the same stairs again.
It was $100 grand to build the same stairs he built for $100 because they had to get a study to determine the most effective way to build the stairs. Then they had to hire a contractor based on their bid, and then the contractor went over cost. It turned into like $100,000 for a set of stairs that a dude built out of his own pocket for $100.
That literally already existed.
Yeah. Now, I'll admit, call me a shill if you want. My current employer is a local, emphasize local, not state, not federal, local government entity.
You're not a real Anarchy's so much harder than you, bro.
Right? In the last 3 months that I've worked for this entity, I have saved every taxpayer in that locale over $300,000 by literally taking old servers, old IT infrastructure, and repurposing it into a new life.
Yeah. See that? Oh, look at that. It's I'm just picturing Ron Swanson. Slash it. Like,
right. And that's me. And literally my manager is the same way. He's like, I want to be the best steward of the taxpayer dollar as I can possibly be. Our hardware is so out of date, but it's still functional. And because it's out of date, we still have parts. So when things break, I don't have to ask for more money to fix it. I can literally go, here's my stack of equipment. Hey, look, Memory module broke. Here's a new one. Click.
Yeah. And it's, I
This,
mean, and
this
that's,
is what I call good governance.
but see, that can only happen in small scale. It does not translate to
Yes,
federal.
exactly. That's what I'm getting at. It can't happen at a federal or a state level. It cannot happen there. It has to happen on the county, on the local, on the city, town, village, township, whatever. And it can only happen on that level. Because at the macro level, where you start talking about Washington, or in Andrew, in my case, Madison, you're talking about, like I said, the macro scale, where they're like, oh, the taxpayers will foot the bill. It's fine.
Do we, by the way, do we want to continue to shit on Trump, or do we want to have a laugh here real quick?
Is there a way to do both?
Not at the moment, but I got several hilarious articles that I wanted to make sure that we had enough laughs in here, and a whole lot of shitting on Donald Trump. So,
So we just shit on Trump. Let's do a laugh, and then we'll go back to shitting on Trump. How's that?
okay. So from backpacker.com,
I love this article.
I titled this one in the links, "What does the fox say?" Sweet kicks, bro.
Right?
A fox has stolen 32 shoes and counting in Grand Teton. Rangers want it to stop. Several weeks ago, this is from, let's see, when is this article from? This is from the 25th of July. Several weeks ago, staff members at Grand Teton National Park began receiving reports of a particularly larcenous fox at one of the park's campgrounds. The fox, or foxes, officials say they're not entirely sure, were stealing visitors' shoes, spiriting them off when the campers peeled off their sweaty kicks to air out their feet. When the shoe count reached 19 shoes stolen, staffers posted signs warning visitors to keep their footwear in their tents, bare storage boxes, or hard-sided vehicles. The warning completely backfired because people are stupid. As the park noted in a video posted on its Instagram account on July 10th.
There's people out there that literally take an extra pair of shoes out there just to placate the fox.
Yep, some visitors responded to the signs by purposely leaving their shoes out, no doubt hoping to catch a glimpse of the thief. The fox was happy to oblige, and as of yesterday, so as of July 24th, the animal's take had reached an impressive 32 shoes. What does the fox do with the shoes? We still don't know. The park wrote in a post accompanying the video, which featured a camper offering a dozen leather boots, high tops, and flip-flops to a taxidermy stand-in for the animal.
Their shoe.
Yeah, maybe it's a toy. Maybe it's a nesting material collection. Maybe it's fashion.
Could you imagine a fox running around a federal park campground with 4 different shoes on its feet?
I'm just picturing a single female fox standing on its hind legs in a pair of like pink patent pumps. And going, well, I mean, they do call me a vixen.
Really?
Come on. How did you not see that? That joke wrote itself. But it may sound like a joke, but in a phone call, park spokesperson Emily Davis assured Backpacker that Grand Teton's fuzzy thief is very real. We were trying to educate our visitors in a fun way about this fox and not to habituate it. Park service experts still aren't sure why the fox keep taking the shoes. One theory is that it's attracted to the salty sweat left inside. Ew. It's also possible that the animal is just playing with them. While shoe theft is unusual behavior for foxes, Davis noted the park personnel found a Kong dog toy in another fox's den last year. You little thief.
Well, the idea of a wild fox building a shoe stash in its den, like tiny Imelda Marcos, may seem funny.
Oh, that's a funny joke.
Yes, it is. The potential consequences for the thief are serious. Like other animals that become habituated to humans, foxes that get bold enough to pilfer from campsites risk dangerous encounters with people and vehicles that could shorten their lives. Davis said that hikers and campers in Grand Teton should store their food, cosmetics, and for now, unworn shoes in bear boxes or other animal proof containers. The Park Service also asks visitors to stay at least 100 yards from bears and wolves and 25 yards from other animals like foxes.
Looking hard at you, Californians. Yeah, should you see a
Although
fox stealing shoes?
some of my favorite stories ever are national parks and people from California who are like, "Oh, look, the buffalo are so pretty."
Do not pet the fluffy cows.
No.
Should you see a fox stealing shoes or any other animal acting unusually bold around humans in a national park, it is best to alert rangers so they can address the situation before it escalates. But for now, we hope that Grand Teton's tiniest sneakerhead is enjoying their collection. Can you imagine like a fox just like trying to bark out, "Don't crease the Jordans" at you? And
I remember yelling, or not yelling, but laughing at my oldest daughter, my oldest child, because her dad had bought her like it was a cheap pair of Jordans. It was like $140 pair of shoes.
it's like the second most expensive pair of shoes I have ever owned was like $130.
I think the most expensive pair of shoes I've ever bought was $110. They were a set of Keen hiking shoes that I had for 5 years.
Yeah, you got your use out of them. Like you actually wore them. Like these are Jordans, man. Nobody wears those anymore. They don't wear them. They display them.
So her biological father bought her a pair of $130-ish pair of Jordans. And she's walking around the house like an AT-AT, just stomp, 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 because she's afraid to crease the sons of bitches as she's trying to do it. It's like
they sell on Amazon these little plates that you can put in at the bottom of the transition from the lace to toe to prevent creasing because it will prevent the shoe from bending there.
I hate that that's a thing.
It's a shoe. It's a shoe. It is a piece of footwear. It is designed
on your fucking
to cover your foot
to walk around it. And how does your foot normally walk? Heel to fucking toe, bitch.
Actually, it should really, you should be walking exactly the opposite from the ball of your foot back to your toe because it's way healthier. But it's neither here nor there. Seriously, look it up. It's true. Anyway,
it is.
It's also safer. But the idea of a fox stealing 32 shoes.
Could you imagine some guy out there with a limited run pair of Jordans? They just got done on like a day-long hike. Takes off his limited run Jordans, sets them outside the tent because anybody who's ever been hiking goes, "Whoo, boy, them things stank." And he wakes up in the morning and his right shoe is just gone.
Gone. There's probably like a tiny like shelves inside this fox's den. He's got them lined up.
Right. I could 5 years later, a year later, the fox steals the left shoe of the same pair of Jordans, but it's a different size.
I just, first of all, I don't understand the Jordans were big when we were kids too. Like you remember, like when they first came out, they were huge, and the Air Jordans. Right. And then they have the little basketball that like pumped them up to make them tighter, so that you could keep them looser when you weren't on the court, and then you could tighten them up when you were on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people have been stupid with shoes for a very long time, but we've actually found, thanks to Vindolanda, we found some Roman shoes that were pretty freaking fancy too. If you're unfamiliar with Vindolanda too, like you should go look them up and look up their museum. It is the coolest thing, especially if you're into the Roman Empire, which if you're a man, you definitely are.
So as
They're the
dumb as it sounds,
coolest thing. Hundreds of
my
shoes.
my
Hundreds.
favorite shoes ever are Keen. Those that one pair of Keens that I had that I was talking about earlier, I just threw them away because the soles were finally starting to have a message, and I got sick of listening to it.
Dude, I have had the same pair of semi-dress oiled boar leather shoes from Duluth Trading Company for like a decade.
Yeah, good
I'm still
shoes.
wearing them. The soles are finally starting to kind of wear out in them.
Hmm.
They are badass shoes. I've been in floods with them on. I've been all sorts of things. They still look great. They still look fantastic, and they haven't even begun, like the leather hasn't even begun to wear through or anything. They are
Yeah,
incredible shoes, and they cost me like $100.
which I mean, a lot of people nowadays would look at that and go, $100 for a pair of shoes you're going to wear out. But if you had them for hell, if you pay $100 for a pair of shoes and they last you 3 years,
Yeah.
those shoes don't owe you shit.
The most expensive pair of shoes I ever owned was my Gucci's, and they were all leather, and they lasted. Actually, they're still going. I'll be honest, they're actually still going. Uh,
I
and I've
I
had
have
those since I was married to my ex-wife. Like, I just want to point out how long
I
I've
have
had
a
those
pair
shoes.
of boots. I have a pair of boots around here that are Danners. They're Danner hunting boots, and used. I bought them for $80. I've had them for 7 years, and they just keep kicking.
Yeah.
I wear them through most of the winter every year. They just keep kicking. Like
But
they're right. They're completely waterproof. The tread on them, I kid you not, the tread is a half an inch thick.
oh, my Rocky hunting boots have been through hell, absolute hell,
And
and
they
you
still
wouldn't
keep
even
going.
know they're not brand new.
Right. It's the same with these Danners. It's ridiculous. They're fantastic boots. And I feel I'm kind of a little salty because I originally bought them for my son. Although his
Uh,
feet weren't quite that size yet. They are now, but they weren't yet. So I bought them for him. And for the first 3 years, I wore them. Now he wears them every year. And these things get abused. They have been sunk in 3 different bodies of water and never a wet foot.
so back to shitting on Trump.
I'm a fan.
I don't really have a good article for it. I posted a quick video breakdown in the link in the description, but Trump has said that the cop who murdered Breonna Taylor, Brett Hankison, during a home raid that was absolutely absurd. It was a no-knock home raid, and she was completely innocent and was murdered by him because he's, a jumpy cop with a gun. Trump recommended that murdering motherfucker, convicted of killing her, right? Convicted. This dude actually got a trial, actually got convicted. His department didn't even stand behind him, everything else, because he fired through the window, hitting and killing her while she was laying in bed, if memory serves.
Yes.
Trump has recommended that he only get a 1-day sentence.
That must have been one you didn't send to me in the link.
It's in there. Trump DOJ says killer cops should get 1-day punishment. It has a link to an NPR news wrap up on it that covers it pretty. I don't think we need to go too in depth into it. I wanted to bring it up and bring up the absurdity.
Oh, there it is.
That this guy literally shot through a window, right? We covered it extensively at the time when it happened. Guy shot through the window and killed her because they were trying to raid her boyfriend, who wasn't even necessarily dangerous. They were doing a no-knock raid. He couldn't even see in the window properly, admitted that he didn't know what was through the window, and just started firing shots through the window, hit her, killed her. She was an EMT. And as a result of that, his department wouldn't even stand behind him. They also abandoned him. The union wouldn't stand behind him and also abandoned him. He was convicted, and despite the fact that even the people who normally are thin blue line as hell went, yeah, that was fucking reckless and stupid, you deserve punishment, Trump is going, nah, 1 day.
Well, fucking Trump has been nothing but a copsucker for the entirety of his public life. I mean, even when he was a New York Democrat, he's sitting there going, oh, but the NYPD is the best that we have in New York City. And it's like, are you paying attention?
I love when they go, New York's finest. I'm like, well, that says an awful lot about New York, doesn't it?
Right? Exactly. You want to call them New York's finest? They're a cesspool. New York is a cesspool.
Like there are. Don't get me wrong. I thoroughly believe that there are people within the organization of the NYPD who truly want to try and help the city and do good. There are those people that exist. But the organization as a whole is so corrupt and horrible and violent and dangerous.
So this brings me back to something that I've been thinking about for a while, and that is I hate to plug other shows, but he's not going to care. Tim Pool on August 6th is doing a culture war live in Washington, D.C. between Rich Angry Cops and Michael Malice.
Malice is going to shred him, and fucking Angry Cop is just going to start screaming incoherently. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
He is going to devolve into his DI, his lesser DI programming, because he is just going to lose his shit because Michael Malice is going to punch him in the face with actual logic.
Yep, logic, facts, reality, and he's just going to be like, you just hate America. You just hate America. You're just an America hater. You just hate America. You just don't like America. And because that's all that dude has. Like, he has 4 functioning brain cells, and you're going to overload.
And occasionally they rub together.
Well, he has 4 functioning brain cells. They're all competing for 8th place, and he's... And like all he has is like aggression and anger, like a typical cop, but that's all he has is aggression and anger.
The funny thing is I shared it in our group chat. There was a clip that was released by the podcast called Kinda Consensual, which is primarily on Pepperbox.
Yep.
Where Fat Electrician played the part of Michael Malice to kind of debate prep Angry Cops.
Yeah.
And it was literally baseline shit. Like the type of stuff that we as actual freedom-loving people make fun of because they can't think beyond these basic arguments.
Yes.
And Michael Malice is going to sit down with these complex layers of this argument and just blow this retard up. And I wish it was live streamed, because I'm not sure that they're even going to record it. I wish it was live streamed, because this is a conversation that needs to happen on such a macro fucking scale.
Yeah, and Malice is going to torch him. Malice is going to torch him easily. He's still, but it's not going to matter, right? Because arguing with people like that is the same as playing chess with pigeons. No matter whether you win or not, they're going to knock over the pieces, shit on the board, and strut around like they did. So that's what's going to happen. There's a 100% chance that's what's going to happen. But the thing that you're going to see, I'm predicting now, is that Malice is going to maintain his composure. He's going to simply explain things and be like, but listen to what you're saying, think logically about this, actually analyze this and break this down. And he's just going to get insane yelling, screaming, and America, 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 yeah, and a pigeon strutting around, shitting all over the board. Exactly. That's what he's going to get.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Because I have seen Malice go into places that would be considered hostile. And all he does is he sit there and he's like, so think about what you just said. I saw him do it Tim Pool where he showed up as question. Every time he shows up the first time on any podcast, he shows up as question from the DC universe. And it's fucking hilarious.
You know, the thing is, though, too, is like I would like to see them. I don't even care if they live stream. I don't want them to live stream. I don't want them to show any video of it. I don't want any audio. What I want is a transcript.
Yeah.
Because it pulls all of the emotion out of it.
And it just says the text.
This is what he said. Yep. This is the response that he got. Like, that's all it is. I would love to see the text of it, because what you will see is that you have logic, reason, understanding, facts, all this other stuff, and then America, oh, you just hate police in America.
And what blows me away is you're talking about Rich, angry cops, who is an SVU detective, who's going to sit there and go, America, America, red, white, and blue, suck Donald Trump's dick. And Michael Malice, who's a literal immigrant from Ukraine, from Eastern Europe, who's going to go, how do you not see the parallels between modern U.S. policing and the Soviet Union? How do you not see this?
Yeah.
And angry cops are going to go, but my thin blue line.
Yeah, he's just gonna freak out on him, and he's gonna go, You just hate police. You just want anarchy. And first of all, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Second of all, yeah, that is what I want. Very good. But he's gonna do that. He's not. These guys never have logic. They never have reason. They never actually demonstrate that they're capable of having more than the most cursory abstract thought as an accident. So I'm not shocked.
The vast majority of these people are products of the public indoctrination system.
But worse than that, he's a product of the public indoctrination system, and then he was an MP, and then he was a cop.
And a drill sergeant. I mean,
yeah,
all of these things piled in together. He is a cop sucking thin blue line. I want Big Daddy Trump's dick down my throat type.
Most people, if they say the Pledge of Allegiance over and over again, their boner goes away. In his case, he finishes.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Oh, America. Oh, flag. Oh, flag.
All hail sacred skycloth.
This dude would still do, honestly, I'm convinced that he would still do the original salute for the Pledge of Allegiance and not care.
Yeah. The Bellamy salute?
Yes.
Or Roman salute?
The Roman salute, yes. He would Roman salute the flag. Yes. Well, Elon Musk, I mean, that was
close. That had some really bad optics to it.
It had really, really bad optics, but it also don't forget though that what's his face, that kid, whose name's not important, that was at Sandy Hook or whatever, that I rode my bike over there because I'm a journalist.
Yeah, that one.
That kid did a Soviet salute. A Soviet revolutionary salute at a speech.
What? No.
Because he was trying to be all iconic or whatever, and it was a Soviet and that was then used by the Black Panthers during the Black Power movement and all those things. So like, and that's what he was trying to do and like to be iconic.
These various salutes have generally ended up in a very bad context.
I just want to point out that like what's hilarious about him doing it is like he was trying to like emulate Barry Seal, but has not even 1/100th of the amount of testosterone that Barry Seal has. And it just winds up sad. And you're like, loser. But anyway, so
his arm got weak prematurely.
Anyway, so it's like, what are you demonstrating what your NAMBLA sponsor does to you? But anyway, another one that I want to get into. Okay, that was dark. I really shouldn't have gone that direction.
Really?
I really should. That was pretty dark. That got pretty dark. But
I mean, it's you and me, Andrew. Dark is kind of what we do.
But that wouldn't. All right. I regret that. That was a little dark.
That's like if you look at the scale of countries with nuclear weapons, Japan's at -2.
We did turn them into the land of the rising sun. Okay, so let's do another funny one. Just because I do have a few, and I have to have a Florida man.
Oh man,
that we have to do.
Are we really going here?
This is a wild fucking ride, bro.
It is. It is.
Here's the headline. Here's the headline. Florida man hijacks Key West sightseeing train for meth-fueled joyride on birthday and picks up passengers. Just marinate on the ride that you're about to go on. All aboard the crazy train. Okay, well, that was a little insensitive considering. But anyway, a man in Florida was arrested on his birthday Friday after authorities caught him absconding with a trackless sightseeing train and even picking up passengers while high on meth. Jonathan Patrick Winslow, whose mugshot, by the way, absolutely looks like you would expect in every possible way, was celebrating his 57th trip around the sun on a raucous Independence Day when he turned up at the Conch Tour train depot in Key West and allegedly weaseled his way into conducting one of their vehicles. Winslow allegedly bamboozled a well-meaning employee into forking over the keys after claiming he used to work at the company years prior and requesting a tour of the train, according to an arrest report obtained by WPLG. The confused employee was left in the dust when Winslow allegedly sped away, thinking that surely the stranger must have had permission to take the train. He did not have permission to take the train, police said. Officers responded to the depot when the stolen train was reported. It could be tracked via GPS, but was already apparently downtown. Authorities had a general idea of who they were looking for almost immediately, as Winslow had left his Kia still running in the parking lot of the depot, blasting rock music, according to an arrest report. Police were able to nab Winslow, and the train was intact. He'd somehow cajoled two oblivious strangers into joining him for the ride.
Am I the only one who's sitting here thinking that with the crazy train reference at the beginning, they come to his vehicle and it's blasting either Crazy Train or Mama, I'm Coming Home?
First of all, this dude's so jazzed, like, to be like, yeah, it's my birthday. Woo! I'm stealing a train, motherfuckers. He doesn't even turn his vehicle off, roll the windows up, or turn the music off. Like, it's just sitting there, just rocking out. And he's just like, thunderstruck, and just goes and steals this train. Winslow exhibited rapid speech and appeared excited even when police told him about the charges he'd face. He claimed he only borrowed the train, again insisted he used to work for the company, and noted that today is my birthday, according to the report. As if that's going, oh, well, it's your birthday. Well, here in Key West, ain't no laws when you're drinking claws on your birthday, my friend. And like, they were just going to let him go? What?
I'm gonna put this out there. If you're watching this, I'm gonna see if this works. I've tried this before. It worked sometimes. It worked other way. I have the picture of the dude's face, and you're gonna look at this and go, "Yeah, he tried to steal a train."
As I said, his photo looks exactly like you would expect it to. This is this man's photo right here. This is this. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. There is no
This
way
dude looks-
anyone needs
dude-
to question whether or not that was your suspect.
This dude looks like he licked a light socket and held on to the transformer all the way to the train station.
That is the face of a man who would steal a train on his birthday and then pick up passengers and be like, "You want to come party? We're going to go party. Woo!"
This is the Walter White Express.
Yeah, this dude. Scroll down for me to the train so you can see the Conch Express, the train that he stole here. There it is.
There it is.
Right there. This is the train that he stole, right? It's basically it's a truck with a trailer, and then like the outside is like train looking cosmetics. And all I can think is only in Key West.
Much more cracked out than this. I'm sorry, you do not get much more cracked out than this.
Only in Key West does a man that looks like this dude rock up on your street downtown with this thing and go, "You want to go for a ride?" And then people do and get on.
That's
not once but twice.
Part.
There were two.
Here's a picture of him getting arrested. Winslow tried to plead with the cops, explaining that, quote, "Today is his birthday."
Winslow was carted off to the county jail. When he was being searched, corrections deputy allegedly found a pipe hidden in his pocket. Winslow tried to insist that it was a weed pipe, but authorities said it was a methamphetamine pipe. The short-lived conductor faces charges of burglary, grand theft auto, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
You don't fucking say.
The best part is this isn't even the first time that people recently have stolen a train for the hell of it. In January, a group of masked teenagers took an empty New York City subway train for a joyride and posted their entire escapade on Instagram, which I got to admit is pretty fucking epic. Two of the teens, including one with a prior criminal record, were busted in February and charged with reckless endangerment, criminal mischief, and criminal trespass. But that's a hell of a story. Hey, you guys remember that time that we stole an entire train? Right. That's awesome. So, that is a hell of a ride, man. That is a hell of a ride.
Yes, it is. So I'm gonna jump off. Actually, this is no pun intended. I'm gonna jump off the rails here for a second because there is a critical First Amendment story that you put out here in the list that makes me go, finally somebody stepped up. And the headline reads, the headline reads, election interference conviction of pro-Trump Twitter troll Douglas Mackie overturned.
They charged the man with election interference for trolling.
He put out a tweet on the Legacy Twitter app that said, if you're voting for Hillary, show up on this day instead of this day. That's all he did. And he did it like months in advance.
And anyone who knew anything about elections knew that it was a joke. They laughed. They went, ha, ha, ha. And then they moved on.
But this guy was tried and convicted. And finally, on Wednesday, let's see, the date of this article is...
Oh, it wasn't
July
the
9th.
Date thing. He wasn't the date one. He was the vote by text message one.
Yes. So
Yeah, Douglas
on
Mackie.
Wednesday, so this was updated on July 9th. A three-judge Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the prosecutors didn't present sufficient evidence he had entered into any sort of conspiracy when he posted several meme images on Twitter, and that his presence in online chat rooms didn't prove he was working with others. Essentially, he made a meme that said, if you're voting for Hillary, text this number. Don't show up to the polls, text this number.
It
That's
was a
it.
really well done meme. Have you
It
seen the
was.
meme?
It was.
It was
It was
so well
fantastic.
done.
It was. I won't. I
Save
won't
time,
knock that.
avoid the line, vote from home.
Which, ironically, was what happened in 2020, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was convicted in March 2023 of election interference after a Brooklyn federal court found that after 5 days of fraught deliberation, they found
He
him
maintained
guilty.
he was merely shit posting, not conspiring to interfere with voting rights, and told the jury, quote, "It's not that I didn't think it would work. I wasn't trying to get it to work," end quote.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to get it to work. Like, it was funny, all right? It was a joke.
Right. It was satire. You cannot be charged for satire. Here's a guy who was charged and convicted at the district court level for satire. And finally, a three-judge panel said, "This is satire. What the fuck are you doing?" I mean, I'm breaking it down into its most basic components, but that's essentially what this is. Dude was literally posting or shit posting on Twitter. They convicted him at the district court level. He appealed, and the appeals court, the three-judge panel goes, "Dude's being a fuck all."
I love that the New York Daily News felt the need to mention that his Twitter included anti-black and anti-woman remarks.
Prove it.
Well, either way, even if it did, like that,
So
because
what?
he's a fucking troll. He's a troll.
He's a troll. And even if he wasn't a troll, let's say he had a problem with black people and women. The First Amendment protects that shit. The First Amendment doesn't protect the things you agree with. It protects the shit you don't agree with.
If you don't think that the First Amendment protects people's right to say really nasty, horrible things that you absolutely disagree with, then you don't believe in the First Amendment.
Exactly. That's my point. Is if the First Amendment wasn't there to protect the speech of the people who agreed with those, whomever may be in power at the time. It's to protect the speech of the people who disagree with the motherfuckers that are saying stupid shit at the top. That's why they're there. That's why it exists, is to say, no, as the leader of the free world, as the president of the United States, you are a moron.
Yeah.
That's what that's for. That's why the First Amendment exists.
The First Amendment exists, so it doesn't, like, I like to point out the First Amendment doesn't exist so that I can say, well, I rather think that I just find that particular action disagreeable. What? It exists so that I can stand in front of a cop, flip him off, and go, hey, fuck you, and the horse you rode in on. That's what it exists for.
And moreover, if you really want to piss that cop off, record his ass while you do it.
Yeah.
While standing on a public sidewalk. Because if you're on a public thoroughfare, if you're in public property, and you tell that cop to eat shit, flip him off and tell him, I think you should, I really wish you would drive into the river. You can legally say that, and that's your First Amendment because that's a redress of governance.
The thing is, like, the First Amendment was written because whenever anybody said something that the crown decided it didn't like, and to this day, that's a thing, right? Like, it's not the crown so much anymore, it's parliament because of that bastard tyrant fucking psychopath Cromwell. May he rot in hell forever. The as a result of that, I don't want kings. We should have parliament, but also I want to be king.
I just can't wait to be king. Sorry.
I love to point out that he's now included in the list of kings, of English kings, by historians.
Really?
Because he made himself king after he had Charles the First executed. He made himself king effectively. Like, let's be honest, fucking Cromwell, fuck Cromwell and fuck his family. But anyway,
the fucking Cromwell deserves a Marie Antoinette haircut.
As an Irishman, fuck Cromwell. But
as a Norseman, fuck Cromwell.
What Cromwell did to the Irish in particular is just unspeakable horrors and genocide. He also did it to the Scots, though, don't forget. So, there's also that.
If you were a Gael, you were in his crosshairs.
Yeah, I mean, well, that would just be the Scots. We're Celts.
Irish uses Gaelic too, doesn't it?
Strictly speaking, Irish uses Irish. The Irish speak Irish. The Scottish speak Scottish.
Right, but
the Manx
Irish
speak
and Scottish are Gaelic derivative.
They're Gaelic. They're Gaelic family of languages, yes, but the only one that calls itself Gaelic. Yeah, the only one that calls itself Gaelic though is Scottish. Irish calls itself Irish.
Fair enough. I'm just saying that there's a language derivative there between Irish and Scottish.
Well, yeah, because Scotland started out as an Irish colony.
Right. And I understand that. That's why I bring it up
and then there's the Manx who are just like weird. And also, by the way, fun fact, Isle of Man has the oldest parliament in continuous existence in the world. In case you didn't know.
That is true.
Also, unlike the rest of the United Kingdom, the Manx can kind of do their own thing constantly. Just kind of at will. They don't really have to go along with any of it. It's fun. But anyway,
what would Dan do?
What
would Dan do? Do you remember that story?
Which one? The guy that swam to
the guy that stole a jet ski and went to
or stole a jet ski. That's right. He stole a jet ski to go visit his girlfriend. Yes.
Yep. During COVID.
That's that.
What
you want to talk about romance? They say romance is dead. That man stole a jet ski to ride across the Irish Sea, which is brave and stupid, so that he could go see his girlfriend. Like,
and then was charged with illegal immigration. Essentially,
if being an Irishman, I'd be like, "Oh, you want to talk about illegal immigration, do you? Let's talk about illegal immigration, Britain. Let's talk about the English immigrating illegally. Let's have that conversation now. Let's talk about Wexford, shall we?"
That brings me back. I don't understand Irish history like you do, but it makes me laugh when I think about Braveheart when you start talking like that. And the guy that shows up, it's my island.
You're mad.
Your island. My island.
Yeah. Mine. Yes. Anyway, we digress.
How often do we do that in a show?
Never. This is gonna be a really long episode, so like buckle up. It might be if you're listening on Rumble, it's probably gonna be a 2-parter.
Actually, they haven't really had any issues with me loading longer shows.
Okay. Well, audio might wind up being 2-parters. I don't know. I know there are some platforms that causes problems when we get over 2 hours, but I want to cover this one. An Oregon court has said the cops can't just fly over any property they want with a drone and then arrest you for what they see.
So I want to point out, anybody who follows what is it? No Panic Button, I think is the channel on YouTube. I don't know what his Twitter, or not Twitter, TikTok channel is called. But Andrew and I are from Wisconsin. He's from Wisconsin. It doesn't matter what state you're from. The DNR is shit.
Oh, well, if you have or fishing game or whatever.
Whatever you call it, it's a DNR, Department of Natural Resources. Whether it's fishing game, I don't care what state you're in. They're all roughly the same. They're all shit. They all think that because they have authority over essentially the environment, that they have free reign. And if you follow No Panic Button on YouTube, you'll be somewhat familiar with the Department of Natural. Oh yes, Department of Natural Resources, Wisconsin Division. My badge. That guy. That is literally what the vast majority of fish and game, DNR, whatever your state calls that. That is how they view themselves. Is they view themselves in a vacuum of, it's the environment. I'm in charge here, and fuck you. They think they're holier than thou, and I have run into way too many DNR wardens, agents, however you want to describe it. But that's all that they do, is they sit there and they bitch about every little thing. In this case, we have Oregon Appeals Court says police unlawfully used aerial camera in marijuana bust. Portland, Oregon. The Oregon Court of Appeals reversed a lower court ruling on Wednesday, finding Oregon State Police violated the Oregon Constitution while taking photos of a property suspected of housing a marijuana grow. The defendant,
now, it's important to note. It's important to note here that what they were doing was a warranted search of a property.
Yes.
What they were doing, they had a warrant for. They had reasonable suspicion. Now, whether or not growing marijuana should be a crime, obviously, it shouldn't be. But regardless, warranted search is what they were doing. But that is not what they wound up doing.
The defendant, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, filed the appeal in February seeking to appeal her conviction for unlawful manufacture of marijuana. In her appeal, she argued that the authorities' warrantless aerial surveillance of her property should be considered an unlawful search, which would violate the Oregon Constitution. She furthered that the evidence obtained from the aerial surveillance should have been suppressed in her trial case.
Yeah,
the case goes back to 2021 when Oregon State Police Sergeant Tyler Betchel took part in an aerial surveillance operation to investigate a suspected multi-county marijuana grow operation. According to court documents, her property was not one of the targeted locations in the investigation. However, while flying an aircraft in with a powerful camera over her property, police noticed, quote, what looked to be a massive agricultural operation that was suspected to be a marijuana grow. The plane was flown by OSP, Oregon State Patrol, at an altitude between 3,500 and 5,000 feet to record video of the property, court documents state, noting OSP then provided the video to the Polk County Sheriff's Office. So essentially,
can I reinforce quick here that this is in the state of Oregon, one of the first states to legalize marijuana.
Yep.
This is in that state. They are still using drone surveillance because if you have an unlicensed grow, they will still go after you and give you federal charges.
Yes.
I just want to highlight that to everybody. This is in Oregon.
So essentially what they're saying here is they flew over what was the warranted area. And while they were over the warranted area, they photographed an area that was not within the confines of the warrant they were given. And that was this individual's property.
And then they used that footage that they incidentally obtained.
Yes. To then charge this individual, this woman, with an unlawful grow operation.
They went further, though, because they didn't use just that. They used that to justify going to the neighbor's property and then using a telephoto lens to take photos from the next door neighbor's property of the grow operation, and then took the telephoto lens photos to a judge to secure a warrant to then go into the property.
So they used ill-gotten photographs from an aerial surveillance to then justify going to a neighboring property to ill-gottenly obtain additional evidence, to then convince a judge to give them a warrant based on ill-gotten gains to go after her supposed illegal marijuana growth.
And their argument in court was essentially, like, we don't need to go into this whole thing in detail, but the argument essentially in court is that the fact that they can see more than just the property that they're being given a warrant for when they're flying that high gives them the right to have incidentally observed other things. Now, it's important to note in this case that what they incidentally observed was a large, and I quote, large agricultural operation. Okay.
Yep.
That was it. It was greenhouses. And not just greenhouses, opaque greenhouses.
Is that a pun?
What? Opaque greenhouse? Well,
no, greenhouses.
Yeah, okay. Greenhouse. Yeah. But opaque greenhouses is what they saw. A bunch of just generic opaque greenhouses. They could not see what was in them, but they knew when they saw it that there was no known agricultural business at that address.
But there doesn't have to be.
No, there doesn't have to be. But based on that, he then, in his suspicion, he then went to a neighboring, because he saw those greenhouses, which he could only see using the drone that was not supposed to be looking at any other property but the one it was authorized for. Because he saw that on that drone footage as incidental evidence, he then used that to justify going to the neighbor's house, asking the neighbor for permission to take photos, zoomed in through the side of the greenhouse so that he could get photos of what was a greenhouse operation upon closer inspection, an actual marijuana greenhouse operation. On closer inspection, he did that, and then he said, oh, well, I incidentally saw a marijuana grow on the camera, which led me to that, which is why this should be okay.
But there's like three different layers at a minimum that they had to go through to get to that point.
Poison,
which is where this is a
tree.
problem.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is
now,
like
to be fair, it's a plant. I don't care. Grow it. Do what you want with it. The vast majority of people are going to be like, it stinks, but who fucking cares?
Yeah, the issue here. So here's why I wanted to bring this article up. Why I thought it was so important is this is what happened here is that all he saw, right, incidentally, he didn't have a warrant for this property at all. He just happened to see, because they're so high up, greenhouses. That's it. That's what he could see. Greenhouses. That there were greenhouses and large amounts of them on this property. That's all he could see. Until he then used that information to justify going to the next door neighbors to do further investigation. Again, he didn't have a warrant to even look onto that property with the camera, and these greenhouses were not visible from the street until he used that information that was not legally obtained to dubiously justify further fishing expeditions without warrants. He didn't know what was even going on there.
Right.
And the police legitimately argued, oh, well, but we just stumbled upon it. No, you didn't. And if they had allowed that, like, imagine if this hadn't gone this way, is really what I wanted to bring up. Is like, imagine if this hadn't gone the direction that it did, where it was ruled unconstitutional, that you can't do that. Right. They're effectively giving a blank slate for surveillance to drones run by the police.
Right. Which, I mean, they've already given a blank slate to things like Stingray and things like that. They have. So it wouldn't be so shocking for different levels of courts to do that. But it sounds almost to me like you're saying that the government hates people with greenhouses.
I purchased through Amazon, okay, a scale. I purchased through Amazon a bunch of small plastic bags, those Ziploc bags. And I purchased through Amazon a pill cutter and mortar and pestle. Different times throughout several months. Why did I purchase these things? For the rats.
Right.
For their medications. Okay. It's because I get my own antibiotics and things for them, because almost all rats are born with pneumonia. Fun fact. Right. They suffer from their whole lives. Whatever you got to use, it's Bayeril. You're basically, they have to be on Bayeril their entire lives if you don't want them to have serious respiratory issues. Normally their bodies can kind of keep it in check, but like if they get any other issues that you then give them antibiotics for, that can cause issues with the pneumonia bacteria. So you have to put them on Bayeril for the rest of their lives. Anyway, long story short, like that's mainly what it's for. It's all for the scale, everything. It's all for medications for the rats. Completely on the up and up. I'm not doing anything with drugs. I mean, I am, but not that kind of drugs. Stuff I'm legally allowed to have. Okay, this is medication drugs. And
according to Brandenburg v. Ohio, that was a hypothetical statement.
Anyway, I'm the only thing I'm doing is I'm doing stuff for the rats, right? Because it's right. Veterinary care. I ordered that, and Lindsay ordered that separately, certain things out of that list over the course of several months from Amazon. We received a visit from the DEA because of the stuff that we ordered separately. Seriously? 2 separate Amazon accounts.
So like her account ordered this, you ordered this, but it went to the same address, and because it went to the same address, the DEA is like, hey,
over the course of like 6 months.
Wow.
This was all ordered. And they came and visited and tried to get let into the house. I was at work. But
I assume Lindsay told him to eat shit.
Yes, and die. Basically, it was like, that's an interesting story. How about you fuck right off and come back with a warrant?
So here is a tall glass of fuck off. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. Like but like that's the kind of shit that they're pulling now.
Right.
And it was entirely innocent shit. I have friends who have had the DEA straight up no knock raid them because they bought scales.
Yeah.
Like microgram level scales.
Dude, when everybody can see right here. See on this shelf to my right, there are jars. In those jars are empty pieces of brass. I make my own ammunition. Do you know how many times I've been questioned about, well, you ordered this Frankfurt Arsenal scale that does grain measurements? Yeah, because I make my own ammunition.
Correct, because I'm mixing explosives.
Right.
But there's nothing illegal about doing that.
But then they want to know, well, how much powder do you have? That's none of your fucking business.
I'd look at him and go, 4 to 7, go fuck yourselves.
Right. The last time I had asked about it, it was by the state fire marshal, and they're like, so we know you reload ammunition. We just need to know how much powder you have, so we know whether or not you're within the confines of the supposed fire code. And I said, I've got between 12 and 32 don't give a shits. Because it's none of your fucking business. Dude, if you're speaking,
it looks like, yeah, I realized I was muted. It looks like a few none of your fucking businesses. And, well, how much is that? It's just slightly less than a go fuck yourself, eat shit, and die, and slightly more than a fuck right off.
Right, exactly. And maybe just slightly more than, do you have a warrant?
Slightly less than a you don't have a warrant. It probably weighs about the same as the dildo that your wife shoves in your ass on Sunday nights. All right, that was poorly timed.
Whiskey in the nose is a bad thing.
Unlike whiskey in a jar, that is not something sung about by Metallica.
Fuck you.
Ring did little eye. It's whiskey in the nose. God
damn it.
The important thing is you won't get a sinus infection. Sanitized.
Fuck you. That doesn't help. Oh
yeah.
God.
But I'm just saying, like that's one of the that's the shit that I would throw out. Like, and I straight up said, I'm like, well, it's too bad I wasn't here because that could have been a fun conversation. She's like, you would have gone to jail, and I'm like, oh no, I would have wound up in a standoff and been killed because that would have pissed them off enough that those motherfuckers who have nothing but violence as their method of negotiation, they would have gone straight to that because I would have pissed them off that much. I would have been like, wow, it sounds like you're a pair of fucking faggots who showed up on my door and wanted to talk shit. That's what that sounds like.
It's no different than back in when I had those people show up, those fucking feds show up here, and they wanted to ask me about my association with you and Magnus.
Yeah.
And I told them to
dude.
just eat shit and die.
Yeah, fuck off. Like, you don't get to... No, I'm not going to answer your questions. I have no interest in answering questions. But, like, this is the thing, though, is, like, the First Amendment...
Do you have a warrant? Yeah. If you don't have a warrant, I don't give a shit. It's like, that simple.
Gosh, hey, can I look through your... Gosh, it sounds like what I'm going to need is a light blue colored piece of paper that's about 8 inches by 10 inches that has a seal on it and is signed by a judge. Would you happen to know what that piece of paper is called?
If you don't have one, then Here's a marvelous thing. It's called a nice tall glass of fuck off.
Since you don't have one, and I definitely want to help police. I think I found what you're looking for. What you're looking for is I think it's right here.
Yeah. It reminds me of Star-Lord in the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know what this thing did.
Yeah, I didn't know
I
how
didn't
this
understand.
worked.
I'm sorry, I didn't know how this worked.
Yeah.
Understand that it is not your responsibility to make their job easier.
It is your responsibility to make their job harder as an American citizen,
Absolutely.
as a descendant, whether you're actually or not a descendant of the American Revolution. You have a responsibility to make the police's job as difficult as possible.
Yep.
Your ancestors would expect nothing less.
As a direct descendant of the signatory of the Declaration of Independence, I can absolutely tell you that the best thing you can do is make them understand that it is not your responsibility to bend the knee. That is why we are here as Americans. It's not our job to bend the knee and tell them, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Officer, let me suck your dick for you. No, it don't work that way. It's, do you have a warrant? Do you have RAS, reasonable articulable suspicion? If you don't have those things, eat shit and die. I don't fucking care. If you want to arrest me over it, that's fine. I'll take the payday. I'm okay with it.
I think a lot of people don't understand the articulatable part of that too.
Right. I mean, a cop will tell you they have reasonable suspicion. Okay, articulate. What crime? Yes, articulate it. What crime do you suspect me of committing? If you can articulate a crime, say anything other than what would be considered a secondary offense, like failure to identify or interference with an investigation, okay, here's my ID. If you can articulate that you think I stole from that store, or I caused a problem at that business, or anything like that, sure, here's my ID. Go ahead.
What's important, though,
if your only articulable suspicion is the fact that I refuse to tell you who I am, that is not RAS. That is not reasonable articulable suspicion. And I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't have an obligation.
I'll take the payday.
If I am not driving a car, the Supreme Court has upheld that Americans have no obligation to identify who they are to law enforcement unless they are suspected of being involved in a crime. Now, it's important that the language is involved because it means that includes being a victim.
Yes. But I won't say that I have ever told a cop that my name was Ligma. I won't say that that's a good way to begin the conversation.
Don't. So what is important is that you're not allowed to lie to cops, but cops are allowed to lie to you. Even though you're doing it satirically and as a joke, like if you actually say that, like they can arrest you for providing false information, which is stupid, but true. Instead, you just go, I'm under no obligation to provide identification to you unless I'm suspected of being involved in a crime or I'm operating a motor vehicle. If I'm doing neither,
then fuck off.
I'm not under any obligation to identify myself to you.
Exactly. And so many cops don't understand that. They don't understand that unless they meet these specific criteria, they can't demand ID from you. And it's fantastic when they sit there and they go, if you don't provide ID, I'm going to arrest you. Okay, go ahead.
There is no
The problem is,
obligation.
my problem is those cops that do that, those cops that arrest you for failure to produce RAS or anything else that would justify their desire, their need for you to identify yourself, none of them will ever face individual consequences. You're going to get a payday. You will. You're going to get $50,000 to $100,000 roughly.
Yeah.
But they're never going to face consequences.
Yep, it's important to remember. Yeah, one, to remember that they'll never face consequences. There's no point even threatening them with that. Like at most, they're going to get a paid vacation if they like attack you, but chances are they won't even get that. They'll just get a hey, you're not really supposed to do that, and then it'll get settled out of court. So instead, if I'm that person in that situation, going, well, I'm under no legal obligation to identify myself to you, unless I'm suspected of being involved in a crime. Per the United States Supreme Court and codified in law extensively, especially like in California, it's codified in law that you don't need to identify the police unless you're suspected of committing a crime. In Texas, you don't need to provide identification at the time of an interaction with police, even if you're driving your car in the state of Texas.
The only obligation you have to providing your identification in the event that you're involved with a traffic stop in Texas is what is it? They have to articulate before you give them ID.
Yep.
The reason for you being detained.
It's Hibble v.
They have to articulate to you what they want your ID for before you're required to give it.
It's Hibble v. 6th, or Hibble v. the 6th Judicial District Court of Nevada. The Supreme Court upheld that the state laws that require that you provide identification if you're suspected of criminal activity are valid, but it specifically also articulates within that majority opinion from the Supreme Court that individuals are never under, in any state, are never under any obligation to provide identification unless engaging in a licensed activity where they must provide proof of license by law, or if it is if there's an articulatable reason for identification to be required.
So essentially, if you're not driving, which requires a license, or you're not in the commission of a crime, or they don't suspect you of the commission of a crime, you don't have to give them ID. That's how I'm interpreting it. I'm not an attorney.
Yeah,
but that's how
this is all hashtag not legal advice, but like basically what the law actually says, what the Constitution, the law actually says is, and the Supreme Court upholds, is if you are, say, you're walking down the street and you're seeing somebody get arrested and like, hey, don't do that to them from across the street, right? You're not doing anything illegal. You just happen to be there. They don't get to go, well, you have to give me ID. No, I don't. Well, tell me your name. I don't have to. At no point do I have to give you any of that information. I'm not suspected of criminal activity. I'm not involved in criminal activity. I'm not operating a vehicle and doing anything that's a licensed activity. Therefore, you don't get to demand that I identify myself in any way to you. And if you try to walk away and they say, well, hey, I'm talking to you, that's interesting. I'm walking away now. I don't want to be here.
And if they go, well, you can't leave, you're detained. Because at that point, when they say you can't leave, what am I being detained for? What is your reasonable, articulable suspicion in which I've been involved in a crime?
Yep. Then what am I being?
Can't articulate anything? Then eat shit and die. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, what am I being detained for so that I can contact my attorney immediately? I'll be saying nothing further and contacting my attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And in this instance, again, because you don't have any any duty to identify yourself, right? They're trying to claim that you're being detained, but if they don't have anything to detain you for, and they'll claim obstruction, everything else. And I've literally looked at a cop not that long ago when he threatened, when I was like, no, I'm not going to tell you anything. Like, I don't have to tell you shit. And he threatened to charge me with obstruction. I looked at him and I said, he's like, well, I'm going to charge you with obstruction. I looked at him and I said, of what? What are you going to tell the judge I obstructed? Please, please tell me. What are you going to tell the judge that I obstructed?
Especially
and
in
he
Wisconsin,
stared at me.
From what I
and he
understand,
stared at me.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, they have an anti-Terry law. So there is no such thing as a Terry stop in the state of Wisconsin. They can't just demand your ID. They have to give you a reason to give you ID or to give them ID.
Yep. Yeah,
so,
and I told him to fuck up, and he was like, well, I'm gonna charge you with obstruction. I said, what are you gonna charge me with obstructing? And he looked and he was like, well, and I'm like, what are you gonna charge me with obstructing? Because there has to be a thing, a crime, and evidence of it that I am presently obstructing in order for me to be charged with obstruction. So what is it I'm obstructing? Because, and I looked at him, he started, I was like, because if what you're about to say, I said, I remind you that your body camera is on.
Yeah.
And what you're about to say is that I'm obstructing you from learning my identity, and you know full well that it would be illegal for you to demand that, I am going to get so much money.
Right. See, I've gotten to the point where I stop reminding them of the fact that they have to articulate those, because I kind of want the payday.
See, and that's the thing is, like, don't threaten them with, oh, you're going to lose your job. Oh, I'm going to have your bet. No. Because that's not going to happen. They're not going to suffer any real consequences. What you do is you just laugh and you go, this is great. I'm going to get so much money. I'm going to pay off my car. I'm going to get so much money
because I'm going to pay off my car.
You're too dumb to take 5 fucking seconds and double check what the law actually says. This is going to be amazing.
I am so looking forward to financial independence. Please keep going.
Arrest me. I beg of you. Let me get that payday.
Well, and that was the funny thing is that day, what was that, 5 years ago now? Was it from about a little over 5 years ago, when we did that episode with you, me, Jason, and Magnus. And then was it a week later, I had federal agents out here, and they're like, I want to talk to you. That's nice. You stand out there on the public thoroughfare. I'm going to stand over here. Can you give us your ID? No. Well, why not? Because I'm under no legal obligation to do so. Can you tell us about your relationship with this person? I could, but I ain't going to. I'm under no legal obligation to do so. Until you show back up here with a signed warrant indicating that I'm required to, fuck off.
My response is always, I refuse to answer any questions without my attorney present. And the last something, I refuse to answer any questions without my attorney present. I refuse to answer any questions without my attorney present. I refuse to answer any questions without my attorney present.
I will never say that is. I will never say that you should do a thing that a person that I know happened to do, which was, if you know you are under active surveillance, provide the individual surveilling you with coffee. I will
to make sure that they know that you know that they're there.
Yes. I will also never advise you that adding Miralax to said coffee when the closest 24-hour bathroom is 13 to 15 minutes away is an acceptable way to provide them with the caffeine stimulation required to surveil you appropriately.
You're just looking out for their health is really what's going on.
I'm just looking out for their health. I will also never tell you that you advise them that when they are finished with said coffee, to go ahead and put the thermos in the back of your truck and you will thoroughly wash it, sterilize it, and prepare it for the next day. I would never, ever tell you that you should do that. All I'm telling you is that people who are on surveillance tend to enjoy stimulants.
Yes. I will say though, like again, it's one of those things where my solution to ever being questioned by police is always simply, I do not answer any questions without my attorney present. I will not answer any questions without my attorney present. I refuse to answer any questions without my attorney present. And that is all you say, and you say literally nothing else in response to literally everything, including them asking for your identity. It's also important to remember that so during a traffic stop, police will always ask for IDs of the passengers in the vehicles. What's very important is that you remember, as a passenger in that vehicle, you are a passenger, you are not an operator, which means
You're under no legal obligation.
Are under no legal obligation to provide them any information whatsoever. Now, again, not legal advice, because I can't say for sure exactly the circumstances, the laws, the states, anything else. But what I am saying is that what the Supreme Court has ruled pretty clearly, to me anyway, would indicate that I don't need to. So I don't. I have been a passenger in cars that have gotten pulled over and had cops go, well, I'm going to need your ID. And I looked at him and I went, no, you don't.
Yep.
And he went, excuse me? And I said, legally, I'm not operating the vehicle and you do not suspect me of a crime. You don't need my identification, nor do you need my name before you ask for that. I'm not obligated to provide you any of that information by the sole nature of the fact that I happen to be adjacent to what you suspect is going on. That doesn't make me obligated to provide you any information. The Supreme Court has upheld that multiple times. Almost every time I've done that, the cop has just backed down and been like, whatever. Worst case scenario, this traffic stop is going to be longer than it would otherwise be, and you're going to have to demand a supervisor. And then when you articulate that to a supervisor, the supervisor 9 times out of 10 is going to go, yep, I don't have to require that. Yep. I can't require that. The law says we don't get to do that. And now you're going to be on your way.
Right. And the 1 time out of 10 where you get an overzealous supervisor, what you end up with is a settlement.
Oh, yeah. I have twice while doing that, I have had to get supervisors. And when the supervisors show up and I go, I wasn't driving. I'm not even being accused of being the driver. I am not involved in any criminal activity. I'm not suspected of being involved in any criminal activity. And I'm not doing anything that requires a license. Being a passenger in a vehicle does not require a license. Therefore, you cannot demand that I identify myself to you in any way, shape, or form. That would be a violation of the Constitution and multiple Supreme Court cases that uphold the 4th and 5th Amendments. So.
And the vast majority of supervisors are like, yep, you're right. All right.
Yep.
Move on. Because this
should have been done a while ago.
Right. It's not worth their time and effort, generally speaking, to continue that once you articulate those things.
Yep.
The situation I was in once upon a time was I got pulled over. I was the driver, only occupant of the vehicle. And they tried to say, I want to search. They actually told me, I want to search your truck. I said, eat shit and die.
Cool story, bro. I want a Ferrari.
No, my exact words to the cop were, "Eat shit and die. I don't fucking care what you want." And he says, "Well, if I have to, I'm going to get a warrant." I said, "Cool story. Go get a warrant.
Go
You
get
show
one.
up at my door with a piece of paper that's signed by a judge that says you're going to search my truck. You can search my truck. Until then, eat shit and die. I don't fucking
I always love
care."
it. Well, I want to search your vehicle. Cool story. I want to bang your wife.
Right. Most of them wouldn't care because they're already too busy beating their wives.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that's
But
cool story. I want to bang your wife.
But I as I looked him dead in the face, like, all right, you want to search my truck? Nice to know. Find me a piece of paper that says you have the legal authority to do so, and we'll talk.
My non-legal advice and my life advice is learn to pick your battles and decide what's worth it and what is not. However, if you got nothing better to do that day and you got time,
Waste theirs.
Refusing to identify as a passenger in a vehicle that got pulled over is always one of the most hilarious sequences of events. It's great. It is a great time. Record the whole thing, post it online. It's fucking great. People love it. Because the cops short circuit when you're like, no, you can't make me, like, you have no legal authority to make me identify myself.
Right.
Well, if you don't have an ID, just tell me your name. No,
I'm not legally required to do so. Eat shit.
I'm not legally required to give you any identification. The words are not legally required to provide any identification. A name would be identification, not just the actual physical thing. I don't have to give you any identification. I could be covered in a sheet right now with only my eyes sticking out, and you couldn't do anything to make me take that off or tell you my name or anything else legally. I don't have to identify myself to you at all. I don't.
Exactly. My funny story about all that. This was 13 years ago, roughly. My now wife and I were driving out around a small town in western Wisconsin. A police officer pulled out and started following me around. So I literally made 4 laps around the block. Like, clearly no intent beyond just making 4 laps around this block. He pulls me over. He goes, "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's fine." "Why?" "Well, you just kept going around in circles." It's like, is there a law against going around in circles? No, but it's kind of suspicious. Okay, so why did you pull me over? For suspicious activity. Okay. And bear in mind, this is
enough to know.
This is before I went from hard right libertarian to anarchist. I was like, okay, so why did you pull me over? Well, it was suspicious. Okay. Is there crime? Is there a reasonable crime against being suspicious? Well, no. Well, then I don't have to give you shit. He goes, "Well, if you don't give me your ID, I'm gonna arrest you." Okay, so I want to make sure I understand that. My now wife is sitting in the passenger seat. You said if I don't provide you ID, you're going to arrest me for a crime you cannot articulate that I committed.
What did I do? What did you even pull me over for? Like, at best you have, well, I pulled you over for a welfare check because I was concerned. Okay. Reasonable.
Fair enough.
Right? Okay.
If you can give me that, fine.
Fine.
But that's not what he said.
Like,
he said, "I pulled you over for being suspicious." Okay. She heard that. I heard that. Now, why do you need my ID? Is suspicion a crime?
You don't need my identification. I mean, if you're operating a motor vehicle in the state of Wisconsin, you are obligated to provide identification that you are licensed to drive.
You are. But if the reason they pulled you over is not a valid reason to pull you over in the first place,
I'm not an
it
attorney.
I'm not an attorney. I'm not an attorney. This is not by any means legal advice.
I'm not an attorney, and I'm definitely not your attorney, listeners. So
no, everything we
I'm
say
not
here is
licensed to
completely
practice law
hypothetical.
anywhere. I would love to take the Wisconsin State Bar exam and become an attorney. If anyone would like to help me pay for that, we can discuss my PayPal.
In fact,
However,
in the state of Wisconsin, you are not legally required to attend law school in order
right.
to.
You only need to pass the bar.
You just have to pass
Yeah.
the bar.
So I will happily take the. If people want to pay for the cost of me to take the bar, I can almost guarantee you that I would in fact pass it.
$1,700 now.
It's decently expensive, but I can almost guarantee you that I would pass it. And once passed, I am in fact a licensed attorney. And at that point, my statement becomes, although I'm an attorney, I'm not your attorney. And
we are not protected
because again,
attorney-client privilege.
Yes. And also, more importantly, I am not giving you personally legal advice.
That's
I'm
right.
speaking in generalities and therefore not liable for if you listen to that and then do something stupid. So, speaking of something stupid,
go ahead.
How about a felony for not having worn a mask in 2024?
Jesus Christ. When I saw you put this in the fucking chat, I'm like, are you kidding? Former GOP chair slapped with felony over not masking at Washington State Election Center in 2024.
2024.
Former Island County, Washington Republican Party chair Tim Hazelow has been convicted on 2 counts, including felony unlawful entry after refusing to wear a mask while serving as an official election observer during the November 2024 election. Andrew, go ahead.
A felony. Unlawful entry. He was an authorized election observer. He was there legally. He refused to wear a mask in 2024, a year where the entire rest of the country who wasn't clinically insane and needs a grippy sock vacation desperately was no longer wearing masks. Even the majority of the craziest of crazy, right? Hyper branch Covidians managed to figure out that masks didn't work by last year. He's there.
Dude, I can't help but laugh at this because, well, my wife and I were at Costco today. I saw no less than 7 people still wearing, not like surgical, they're like clinical masks. They were wearing homemade cloth face coverings that they probably made themselves. And they were walking around looking at everybody like, what's wrong with you?
Now, if you have a cold or a flu, hey, wear a mask when you're in public. You know what? That's actually a very polite thing if you're going to have to go out into public to be like, hey, I care about your health. And I don't really I'm going to be coughing, sneezing. I really just don't want to even have that be a risk that I get anyone sick.
Sure.
I get that, right? Like they've been doing that in Asian countries for decades. Where like, hey, if you have a sniffle, you have a cough, whatever, just wear fucking masks so you don't get everyone else sick. Like, it's fine.
When I look at these people and I look in it, if you look at somebody, you look in their eyes, you can see if they're sick. Generally speaking, they have big giant bags under their eyes because they're tired.
Oh,
the woman I saw today, I shit you not, was probably 65 years old, as healthy as I am at 45 or at 40. At 40, I am 40 years old. She was probably as healthy as I am, wearing a mask, walking around, and just glaring at everybody in this store.
You know why? You know what? So this is why these people are like this, and this is also why I included this article. I wanted to talk about this. This is why these people are like this, is because they were losers, horrific losers that were laughed at endlessly. Everyone was like, "Ha ha ha! You conformist pieces of shit. No one likes you. You're morons. You have no talent. You're uninteresting. You're all lame." They had nothing going for them. And then COVID happened, and suddenly they could be like, look at how conformist I am, see, because I care about people. And it's the only thing they've ever had in their horrible, lame,
Look at how
obnoxious
deep
little
I can
lives.
suck the fucking boot.
It's the only thing they've ever had to be proud of in their entire lives, right? It's the only interesting thing, the only thing they could ever be proud of. They've never been the smartest. They've never been the most articulate. They've never even been the dumbest people in the world. They
literally
aren't athletic.
They
They're
just
not
blend in. They just blend in with the rest of 85% of people.
Which is why we call them NPCs. These people are NPCs. They're non-playable characters. They are characters that were not important enough for you to give a backstory to, right?
Right.
They're literally less interesting than the villagers in Skyrim.
Fuck, I would consider myself an NPC. Shit, I haven't had that interesting of a life. But I'm at least not stupid.
But like these people are the dullest, most uninteresting things ever. And then finally COVID happened, and they're like, yes, now's my chance to be interesting and be special, because now I can go look at how conformist and obedient I am. I'm doing the things that the government's telling me. Yay, me. And they refuse, even though now no one's telling them to wear masks. They only have the "but I wear a mask" thing to hang on to, so they will not let it go.
Right.
To which my response is, if you want to wear a mask, dude, there's an entire Japanese subculture that wears like decorative masks all the time. That's just a thing that they do. No, just do that.
I'd even go far beyond that. It's like, okay, if you legitimately feel the need to wear a mask all the time when you're beyond the confines of your home, there are services for that. There's things like DoorDash. There's delivery services. Walmart will deliver your groceries to your house.
You can order from Sam's Club and Costco and in bulk, and they will just deliver things to you.
You can order from Amazon, and it shows up on your step.
Lindsay has horrible agoraphobia, right? She can't. She can barely ever bring herself to go out into public, right?
Sure.
I work 70-something hours a week, so I'm never here, and we only have one car. Baby blue, my baby.
Makes sense.
That's all we have, right? She still grocery shops. She still gets everything that we need for the house because she has it all delivered.
Right. And that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. If you are the type of person who, in order to go out into any kind of potentially social interaction, you require a face diaper, maybe now, at 5 years later, would be a good time to seek professional help.
Oh, dude. So during COVID, one of my favorite interactions, right? I was wearing a mask. I wore a mask during COVID. You know why? Not because I was worried about wearing a mask. I wore a mask during COVID because I wanted to conceal my identity with him when in public. So,
attaboy.
I was out, and I was wearing my facial recognition, my anti-facial recognition neck gaiter that I have, and super amazing, very cheap on Amazon. Highly recommend everybody invest in them. But anyway, I was wearing that.
$3 for mine.
Yeah, they're dirt cheap. But I was wearing that and a pair of aviator sunglasses, and walking around the grocery store.
Highway to the danger.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I was wearing that, and they're mirrored sunglasses, right? Too.
On
So
the inside or outside?
Not on the inside. That would be a terrible idea.
That's a
I'm
southern
really curious
law
what my
enforcement
eyeballs
joke.
look like. Like, what do you?
That sounds like a southern law enforcement joke, but you know what I mean.
Oh, it's mirrored on the inside. Like, oh God, look at the backs of my retinas. But anyway. No, there's
Sorry,
a
that's
mirror
a
on
Robin
the
Williams jokes from here.
That's why you don't put your contacts in inside out, because then you can see the back of your head. But anyway, so
I feel personally attacked.
But anyway, so I love the idea of contacts. Here, put this piece of glass in your eye. That'll help.
It's plastic. Come on.
I know,
nylon.
but it's funny. Anyway,
okay. Full disclosure, right now, sitting here, I'm wearing single-use contacts.
Yeah, but anyway, so I'm wearing my neck gaiter, and I'm wearing the glasses and whatever, and I'm walking around, and it's winter, so I also have like my, I have a pea coat. I have my pea coat on, collar up, whatever, and I'm walking around shopping, and some dude wearing, I don't even remember what like pro Republican shirt or whatever, is like standing there looking at the pizzas when I am, and he's like, "This is ridiculous," and just like says it to himself. And I went, "Oh no, this is the greatest time ever for me." And what? And I went, "Everyone wants to stay at least 6 feet away from me, and I can completely hide my identity in public, and no one looks at me like I'm nuts."
I mean,
this is fantastic right now. And the look of sudden realization on his face, and he's like, "Oh my God." And suddenly he noticed like what kind of a mask I was wearing. And he's like, "Is that one of the-" Yes, it is. I was like, "Hey, you can get them on Amazon. You just search for them, order them. They screw up facial recognition AI. They can't track you anymore because it completely messes with the algorithm."
That's like when I first started. I mean, for anybody who's been a long time listener, I worked at a hospital. Okay. I no longer work at the hospital, so I can say certain things. I went to work with literally buying what's called a fake mask. The website was fakemask.com. All it was a piece of mesh that was like 3 layers deep. So like layer, layer, layer. That's it. So visually, I was obscured. In actuality, droplets were, let's say, less than obscured.
You were fine. You could breathe just
fine. I was fine. I could breathe just fine. There was no problem. I wore that to work for 2 weeks straight, working in a hospital, literally in building in the hospital, working in IT. Nobody asked any questions. Nobody questioned it. Nobody thought, "Oh, he's not skirting the rules." None of that.
Because it was performative. Every serious medical professional knew that it didn't actually do anything. Yeah. I demonstrated, remember, on this show, I demonstrated how few water droplets it stopped by vaping through my mask.
And you used a surgical grade mask when you did it. He's like,
and I vaped through the mask.
I mean, what he just did was exactly what happened through the mask that they said was approved.
Yeah, it obscured water droplets. A vapor cloud just passed in and out of that without any hesitation.
Right.
No, it does not. But anyway,
I beg to differ.
Now that we've harped on that, former Island County, Washington Republican Party Chair Tim Haslow has been convicted on 2 counts, including felony unlawful entry. We covered that. Haslow, a well-known supporter of Donald Trump, was authorized to be inside the Island County Elections Office last fall as a Republican observer. Masking rules were instituted by Island County Auditor Sheila Kreider, requiring all observers to wear face coverings while in the ballot counting area, years after most pandemic restrictions had been lifted across the entire country.
So all of this bullshit that the NIH, CDC, DHS, all of that bullshit has been debunked. Here we are in the Pacific Northwest, and you have a bureaucrat saying, this has to be followed, or we will arrest you and convict you of felony issues. Because reasons.
There's reasons. We're getting to that. There's reasons. Kreider testified that the mask mandate was imposed because around half her staff got COVID-19 during a previous election cycle. First of all, the previous election cycle
2020
was not
when they fucked around with shit and found out and neglected to find out.
Not only was it during 2020, right? It was the midterms, but not only that, okay. But what's more important is half her staff got COVID-19. The question is, was that maybe from somebody who, I don't know, had COVID-19? Do you maybe need to have the disease in order to pass it on?
What? Are you saying that biologically speaking, if you have virus X, you show up in a public place and person A ends up with virus X, there might be a 1-to-1 relationship with that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Throughout COVID, kept asking people when they were like, well, I'm wearing my mask so I don't give my grandma COVID. And I'm like, I wonder what you're doing to prevent giving your grandma Ebola.
Right.
And they're like, what? I don't have Ebola. Oh, huh. It's almost like you can't transmit diseases you don't have.
Right. But heaven forbid,
we harped on that so much a few years ago.
Oh God, yes, we did.
We did.
To be perfectly honest, I just about lost my former job because of this.
Anyway, Haslow refused and was ultimately removed by the Coupeville Marshal. He was later charged by Island County Prosecutor Greg Banks. This is important. Okay. This following part is very important here in this case, and why specifically I really wanted to bring this up. On Wednesday, a jury found Haslow guilty of 1 count of second-degree criminal trespass and 1 count of felony unlawful entry into an election facility under a Washington state law that is rarely used. He faces up to a year in prison, and his felony conviction can jeopardize his job, which requires a security clearance that he cannot have if convicted of a felony. During the trial, jurors were shown...
Because in the Pacific Northwest, this person, went out into public on a face diaper. They've found him guilty of a felony.
A felony that jeopardizes his job as a professional election observer and part of a leadership of the Republican Party. This is important. Keep that in mind. We're getting there. During the trial, jurors were shown body cam footage of the incident in which Haslow is seen calmly seated and refusing requests from election officials to don a mask. Law enforcement eventually escorts him from the room. Haslow testified in his defense, telling the jury, I signed in. I was authorized to be there. I walked into the room, sat down, and quietly, I didn't disturb anybody. I didn't touch a ballot. I quietly sat there by myself. This is important. Why is this important? This is important because
literally nothing.
The Island County's elected prosecutor, Greg Banks, chose to personally try the case, which is an unusual move that critics argue points to bias. Banks himself has a history of making inflammatory remarks about Trump supporters and anti-mask individuals on social media. In past posts, Banks has compared Trump supporters to Nazis and the KKK, called them racist bullies with a second-grade intellect, and said we need to cleanse the planet of their diseased thinking. He also has publicly wished death on people who refuse to wear masks during the pandemic.
So are you saying that the engineered plague that is COVID-19 was designed to attack people of minority descent because white people refuse to wear masks?
No, here's the thing. This is where this is important, right? All the shit about COVID-19, we've addressed that. We addressed that massively at the time, and all the stupidity. What's important is, okay, this guy was a Republican, known vocal Trump supporter, election observer, authorized to be there.
So it's a political persecution.
And yes, because Greg Banks, the prosecutor who normally wouldn't try these cases himself personally, volunteered to do it. And he has a history of saying that he hopes people that don't wear masks die, and comparing Trump supporters, which this guy is, to Nazis in the KKK, and said that they need to be cleansed from the planet like a disease. This is why I wanted to bring this up. When people go, just wait for your day in court, remember that the prosecutor, the judge, everyone, including even the jury, are on the state's payroll.
Without a fucking doubt.
The judge, by the way, barred Haslow's defense from introducing the prosecutor's past statements as evidence, a move critics say undercut the defense's argument about political motivation. Observers have also pointed out what they describe as selective enforcement. Como News visited the election facility the day after Haslow was removed and found other individuals, some of them staff, not wearing masks. Police body cam footage also showed at least one officer holding but not wearing a mask. None of these individuals faced charges themselves, but even that evidence was not allowed to be presented at the trial either.
Judy Thorpe, who attended the trial, called the prosecution, quote, a frivolous case. She told Como News, I have been an observer too. This is taxpayer money being wasted.
Here's the thing, too. Let's add to this. Haslow is not the only Republican observer charged in Island County. Tracy Abdul, another Republican volunteer removed under similar circumstances, is also facing trial for felony charges after refusing to wear a mask during ballot observation. In both cases, the initial citations were misdemeanors, but were later elevated to felony charges by the prosecutor using Washington state law covering unlawful election facility entry. Again, there were a bunch of Democrats.
Does that not scream political persecution? Attack those people who disagree with you.
There were a bunch of Democrats who were there who were not wearing masks. Even the police were not wearing masks. None of them have been charged. The only ones who were the Republican observers of the election. This is political retaliation. It is very obviously political retaliation, and I don't think anyone could ever legitimately argue anything else.
If they did, they'd be disingenuous at best.
In a movie version of this, the defense would try and get the prosecutor to start going on a tirade about how horrible he was and how he was a Nazi and how he needed to be cleansed and everything else. And then everyone would go, well, clearly you're nuts. And the prosecutor would go, oh, I've revealed my hand, and then walk out, and then end movie. He's been acquitted. Everyone claps. Yay. But this is the real world. This is not a movie. And so that kind of shit doesn't actually happen. What happens is he gets his life taken away from him, and he has to fight and spend huge amounts of money to just try and maybe hold on to his status as a non-felon. And he may or may not do that. And it's because of this political persecution. Again, when people say, wait for your day in court, your day in court is a day in the casino. And if you know anything about casinos, the house always wins.
You might 1 out of 5 times walk out of there ahead, but in the grand scheme of things, the house has you by the dick.
This is what I keep saying. This is what we keep saying on the show. We keep bringing it up. Don't think that any of this is to your favor. Don't think that you're going to just have to wait for your day in court and it's going to be fine and it's all going to work out. And no, that isn't how this works.
The house is always the one in charge of the pot. Period.
Yep. It's getting pretty late. So a couple other things to run through. One more. Chuck E. Cheese was arrested.
That's funny. I saw that article. I just about fell over laughing.
The photos are amazing of this whole thing. TMZ obtained the arrest report and the Tallahassee police report. Says the man in the Chuck E. Cheese costume had a small amount of marijuana on him. Come with me, Chucky. Yeah, Florida cops who arrested a Chuck E. Cheese mascot had a hilarious way of leading him out of the Charles Entertainment Cheese joint and over to their cop car, telling him, Chuck E., come with me, Chuck E.
Yeah, and then California's $20 fast food minimum wage led to 18,000 fewer jobs.
Wow, I was going to say the Chuck E. Cheese who was arrested. And again, look up the photos. They are hysterical. He was arrested on the job in costume for check fraud. So they cuffed and marched out Chuck E. Cheese in front of a bunch of children. It's hilarious. It's horrible for the children, but just because of my dark sense of humor, goddamn hysterical. I love it. It's so funny. Yes, the $20 per hour for burger flippers resulted in fewer jobs. Who knew? So this ties into In-N-Out Burger has left California. The founder, the father of the current owner, who inherited it, he had always said that In-N-Out Burger should never leave California, but she cited the incredibly high crime rates and the uncoverable wages of California with why she's moving the operation to Tennessee.
The state with no income tax?
And one of the hardest red states in the union.
Jesus Christ.
That is where she is moving the operations, the corporate headquarters for In-N-Out Burger. But also report California's $20 fast food minimum wage led to 18,000 fewer jobs.
So
California's
it's almost like high school kids didn't get the opportunity to learn critical work experience.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Minimum wage is mandatory unemployment. It's also important to know when it comes to minimum wages, they don't actually fix anything. But The minimum wage is always $0. Remember that. It will always be $0. It doesn't matter what you try and say with your law. The minimum wage is $0 because the minimum wage is earning nothing because you are unemployed. According to a new paper released by the National Bureau of Economic Research this month, quote, we analyzed the effect of California's $20 fast food minimum wage, which was enacted in September 2023 and went into effect in April 2024 on employment in the fast food sector. Again, April 2024, so just a little over a year. In unadjusted data from the quarterly census of employment and wages, we find that employment in California's fast food sector declined by 2.7% relative to employment in the fast food sector elsewhere in the United States from September 2023 through September 2024. Adjusting for pre-AB 1228 trends, that's the name of the law, by the way, increases this differential decline to 3.2% while netting out the equivalent employment changes in non-minimum wage intensive industries, further increases the decline. Our median estimate translates into a loss of 18,000 jobs in California's fast food sector relative to the counterfactual.
It's almost like arbitrarily inflating the cost of labor negatively impacts employment.
The HR Grapevine added, the Employment Policies Institute estimated that non-tipped restaurant workers in California lost 250 hours of work annually, translating into up to $4,000 in lost income. That drop equates to 7 weeks of work each year per employee that they are no longer being scheduled for. The California Globe reported that, quote, thousands of fast food jobs were shed by companies in anticipation for the higher costs, end quote, including 12,000 drivers at Pizza Hut. Once the law took effect on April 1st, 2024, restaurants automated what they could to avoid the higher wages, and some fast food restaurants also simply closed. By June 2024, Stanford University data indicated over 10,000 fast food jobs were already lost. While the governor's office disputed the figure, saying fast food jobs had increased, it, quote, stopped by the fall when it became apparent that federal data was never going to be on their side. In April 2025, this is Breitbart News. In April 2025, a major fast food franchisee said she was rushing to install kiosks at his restaurant to save money as the $20 minimum wage took effect. A few months later, the outlet said approximately 10,000 jobs were reportedly cut at California fast food restaurants following the minimum wage hike on New Year's Day 2025. A rise in minimum wage hourly wages hit nearly half of the states in the U.S. and 48 counties. Meanwhile, the recent study also found that technology is replacing more and more workers. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed the minimum wage increase into law and has publicly defended it. Currently, the Golden State has the highest unemployment rate in the entire United States.
If you were paying a person to work at McDonald's and stand behind a crop down computer to literally go, you want this, you want this, you want this. That's literally all they do. And then to pay the people back in the kitchen to go, oh, this person wants let's use McDonald's for example, double quarter pounder with cheese. But I don't want pickles. About 40% of those people working in the kitchen are getting paid $20-ish plus dollars an hour to put pickles on a burger that was requested with no pickles.
They're getting paid $20 an hour to say, sorry, your ice cream machine is broken. This is the thing, right? This is the thing. We brought it up on the show multiple times. We don't really need to beat this dead horse again, but this is real world data that backs up what we've been saying, which is minimum wage is mandatory unemployment.
Yeah.
If you have minimum skills, minimum knowledge, minimum experience, and have minimum work ethic, and want to do minimum hard labor, you will command minimum money. And if that minimum money is the same amount of money that I would have to spend for someone who has skills, experience, knowledge, I'm going to go with the person who's going to contribute more, the person with the skills, experience, and knowledge. All you're doing, what you've done essentially by raising the minimum wage, because also by raising the minimum wage, you raise average income, which means you now raise the cost of goods inherently. By doing that, what you've done is not make the ladder go higher. You've taken the ladder, grabbed it from the bottom, and slid it upwards. And gone, look, now you can reach higher.
Right.
Except that people who aren't tall enough to reach the bottom rung in the first place now will never get on that ladder.
Right.
This is how minimum wage works. You are raising the bottom rung of the ladder ever higher. Which means you are leaving more and more people in a pit of a spiral of unemployment and homelessness and poverty and despair.
Yep.
You have to give people an entry, right? We talk about barrier to entry and how important low barrier to entry is.
Yeah. And minimum wage is arbitrarily setting the cost of labor.
You can't make the barrier to entry for the work market, right? The job market super high and then wonder why there's so many homeless. There's so many people who are desperate and broke and in poverty. You set the barrier to entry way too high. You have to give these people an opportunity to earn $5 an hour, $3 an hour, where they're not making jack shit. But you know what? They're gaining experience and skills. They're building a resume that they can then take and they can go elsewhere. You need to give people that ability. And you're taking it away from them.
Yep.
And what happens when you do that is suddenly, right, because the reason why there's been so many jobs that haven't been automated and haven't been turned into robots yet, the reason that exists right now is because it's still cheaper in general, in terms of efficiency and everything else, to have human beings doing that, right? But once you raise the minimum wage to $20 fucking an hour, right? That's 40 grand a year. Once you raise that,
far more lucrative to train an AI or even if it's just automated, even if it's just a basic program of automation, it becomes so much easier to just. I pay $45 a year to pay for this computer that does the job that these 7 people would command at $20 an hour.
Yeah, and here's where the economist in me is going to come out real quick, right? If anybody's confused, if you're even remotely confused about this, let me explain something very, very simple. Is the average worker who earns in fast food $12.50 an hour does not cost that company $12.50 an hour. That's how much they earn. But they actually cost that company on average $35 to $40 an hour.
Sure.
Why? Because I have to pay payroll tax. I have to cover workers' comp. I probably pay for insurance for them. I pay for other ancillary benefits for them. I pay for all of that stuff. I am paying for dramatically more than what they're earning per hour to have that employee. You know what I don't have to pay for workers' comp for? You know what I don't have to pay for ancillary benefits for? You know whose 401k I don't have to contribute to? The robot.
Right.
Which means even if it costs me $20 per hour to operate the robot, and I'm paying and the alternative is paying my worker $20 an hour, I'm going the robot because the robot is still cheaper.
By orders of magnitude.
Yeah. So I'm still going to go with the robot.
Reminds me of the scene of Idiocracy. where she goes up to the McDonald's kiosk. She's like, yeah, I'd like this, and this. That'll be several $1,000,000. What?
Ultra hyperinflation.
Right. And when you start arbitrarily inflating the cost of labor, you start. I mean, general inflation is bad enough, right? Can we agree with that? General inflation is bad enough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you start arbitrarily increasing the cost of labor, now you're talking about orders of magnitude worse because it's not just one person, it's your entire workforce. You're sinking the entire company behind this arbitrary cost. Why? These these low skill workers will never improve because you're making it too easy.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, I mean, and not only that, but, it's speaking of arbitrarily increasing costs. The last article we had, I just want to very briefly bring it up, is Trump imposed additional tariffs on Europe and Asia. And this is further driving increased costs on goods that people did not anticipate were ever going to increase. In fact, the furniture industry did not have an issue when he put tariffs on Mexico. The furniture industry did not have an issue when he put tariffs on China. The furniture industry has issues when he puts tariffs on Europe.
Right.
The automotive industry has massive problems when he puts tariffs on Europe, which he just did. Tariffs, we already know, destroy economies. We've covered that. We've beat that horse to death on this show. Tariffs ruin economies because remember, when you institute tariffs, the people exporting that shit don't have to pay extra. The people importing it do. It doesn't cost the foreign countries more. It costs the companies that are here more, and therefore American consumers more.
But I will say one thing I find quite interesting in that regard, and this is maybe a little bit of devil's advocate, is that, say, German auto manufacturers in the US, their costs have not increased at the level at which tariffs have. So the only thing I can ascertain from that is, let's go with the number that was released today, 15%. Let's say German auto manufacturers are being charged 15%. If they're not passing 15% onto the American consumer, they're passing that 15% onto other consumers in other countries in order to remain competitive with American consumers.
Which they're
sense?
still going to do, and that never
Yeah.
incentivizes them to bring anything to the U.S.
Right. Exactly. But them charging the tariff to a third party says, oh, well, we're not seeing any price increase in the U.S. Trump must be winning. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is those companies are passing those costs on to other people. And eventually it's going to trickle down to you. Eventually you're going to feel that.
Well, I'm feeling the crunch, right? Like already, because I drive an Italian car.
Well, that's your fault.
It's not really my fault. It shouldn't be my fault. That shouldn't affect the price at all. The fact that it's from Italy should not arbitrarily affect it, especially because the majority of my car is in fact labeled Mopar. The parts are all from Mopar. The majority of my Italian car is Mopar. However, almost nothing Mopar is manufactured in the United States. Oh, it was before Stellantis as well. It was still Fiat Chrysler. We're talking 35, 40 years. since the last time that Chrysler was truly manufactured in the United States.
That's true.
It's almost it about 40 years ago, the vast majority of production for Chrysler was moved to Canada.
I mean, who trusts the Canucks to do anything?
But the majority of it is Canada. The majority of General Motors manufacturing is in Mexico.
Not just GM, but Ford too.
Ford's manufacturing is like Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, Brazil.
And Honduras, Guatemala, Brazil, but also they do a fair amount in Canada. They do some in the U.S., but most of what they do in the U.S. is actually end user assembly.
There,
So like
there are
the parts are all produced overseas, and then they just bring them into the U.S. to randomly shove them together.
The two most American produced cars
Are Kia
in the United
Toyota.
States are Toyota.
I know Toyota
and Subaru.
Is it Subaru? Last I heard it was Kia, but
Kia is part of Toyota.
Kia is actually partially owned by Ford, which is
and
Ford
Hyundai and Toyota, but
Mazda.
Kia is a conglomerate, but Toyota manufactures the majority of shit, is my understanding. I could be wrong, but my understanding is that Toyota USA manufactures the majority of shit that Kia winds up using, with the exception of a few internal Kia manufacturers. But remember, the Kia, ultimately, its majority shareholder is Hyundai.
Right. The majority shareholder is Hyundai, but a good chunk of Hyundai is actually owned by Mazda. The Kia that I used to own had a casting number that was like 3 digits off from a Mazda Miata, but it was a Kia Sevilla.
The Miata, by the way, fun fact, was entirely designed in the United States. But anyway, so entirely designed. The dude who designed it lives in California, and his grandson is a host on Donut Media. So fun
that
fact.
Checks out.
He's a huge fan of Miatas. Can't imagine why. But anyway, he does stuff for Donut regularly too, including where he reviews modified Mazdas. Fun video. But anyway, the foreign cars are more manufactured. The Japanese cars are more manufactured in the United States than American cars are. But I drive an Italian car. I drive an Italian car that is mostly Mopar parts underneath. It's almost entirely Canadian and Italian. The entire body, everything, that's all Italian. What that's translated to because of Trump's tariffs is if my car gets more than one body panel damaged, it's totaled.
Yep.
If an underbody support is bent, it is totaled. It is next to impossible to not total my car. It is the exact polar opposite to the McLaren F1, because the McLaren F1 cannot be totaled. It is the world's first total-proof car. It does not matter how badly you damage an F1, a McLaren F1. It is still cheaper to fix it and rebuild it than it is to try and buy a different one. Down to like autoclaving the entire carbon fiber tub again. It still is cheaper than trying to buy another one. So it is untotalable, whereas my car is almost impossible to not total. And I don't even drive a Maserati. I just want to point out, not even a Maserati. My car was cheap to begin with. Like, my car brand new was $45,000.
I was going to say, your car brand new was cheap by modern standards.
Yeah, by modern standards, modern luxury sedan standards, and especially by exotic sedan standards.
Yeah.
My car cost $45,000 and change before tax, title and license brand spanking new in 2017. 45. That is cheaper than most Toyotas. That is cheaper than most Fords. That is cheaper than most Chevys. That is dirt cheap for a sedan, let alone a sports sedan and a luxury sports sedan, which I would actually call a saloon, but I'm using sedan because you're all Americans.
What do you suppose, boss?
But my point is, this is ridiculous. Tariffs are already bad for the economy and are already actively hurting the economy. And your response is to do more tariffs. This is how stupid the Trump administration is and how little it gives a fuck about how much it destroys the economy. It cares about making headlines that a bunch of useful idiots are going to go, oh, yay, Trump. Oh,
well, and
what are shoes?
My biggest issue with the whole tariff thing is nobody really thinks about the fact that even supposed U.S. manufactured vehicles, they're not U.S. manufactured. The vast majority of those parts are made overseas. Tariffs are imposed on those. The idea that imposing tariffs on imports in general is going to be a net positive is difficult. It's a difficult pill to swallow.
It's stupid. It's idiotic to think that that's going to help, because here's the thing, right? Just like the $20 minimum wage in California, and this is why I wanted to bring them up back to back. $20 minimum wage in California made people go, well, how do I create robots? How do I, to do these jobs? I'm going to eliminate these jobs that I don't find absolutely essential and everything else, because the CEOs, the executives, and the shareholders are not going to take lower revenue for themselves in the name of your stupid ideological goals. Okay.
Right.
Tariffs are exactly the same way. What's going to happen is the quality of shit that you're going to get is going to go down. The cost of everything is going to go up. The supply of everything is going to go down, which further is going to drive expense to you, because, again, you, just like the lefties, are going, oh, I really hope that CEOs and executives take less money to try and run my ideological goals.
Which is never going to happen.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's just not. It's not going to happen. Stop trying to be communists. Stop trying to be, and in this case with tariffs, stop trying to be fascists, because tariffs are a fascist idea. They are a fascist fucking idea. National protectionism is a fascist fucking idea. This is fascist. This is National Socialism.
So, not saying I agree or disagree, but I want to play devil's advocate with you here for a second. What about people who will tell you that the federal government prior to income tax was largely funded by tariffs because they couldn't take the money of people inside, so they'd take it from the outside?
That was also immoral and fascist. If the federal government has to be fascist in order to be funded, the federal government has no right to exist.
Okay. Like I said,
any services it wants to render, this is the thing, is any service that a government renders is a socialist service. It just is, right? You are forcing people to pay for that service, whether they want to or not, because you are declaring, no, I know better than you, and I'm going to take your money at gunpoint to go use it. Good ideas don't require force. If you're going to require force of me, it's a bad idea, right? So it was fascist then, it's fascist now, and especially when you look at when income tax gets imposed, This is the very beginnings of the rise of fascism.
Right.
This is 35, 40 years after the writing of the Communist Manifesto. So I'm not exactly shocked that the U.S. paid for itself that way. From the very beginning of the United States Constitution, it was a coup by a bunch of elitists and socialists who went, but I'm going to be in charge, so I get to run people's money the way I want. That's what it is. I'm ideologically consistent. People who aren't are going to struggle with that. But I'm ideologically consistent, and I keep going. It should never have happened. I'm with Thomas Paine. The federal government should never have existed in the first fucking place.
That's
so
fair.
I don't care how they paid for themselves. They shouldn't exist. It was still fascist. It's
that's
even
that's
worse
why I had to
fascism
pose
now.
the question. That's why I had to pose the question, because a lot of people are going to look at that and go, well, prior to X, Y, and Z, you know, how would you consider that? Well, because it always has been.
It's always been immoral. It's just that they were more subtly immoral, and the national protectionism is the cause of World War I. And here's the thing, like, that's what it is, right? Nationalism is the cause of World War I. National protectionism caused World War I. That's why it happened, right? Hyper-national protectionism, that is what caused World War I. That is what caused a horrific, genocidal, insane war that ultimately led to the Second World War that was basically genocidal of almost the entire human race actively. That was all caused by nationalism. All of it. All of it boils down to nationalism. Every last bit of it boils down to nationalism. All of it. Nationalism, national protectionism, that is what caused it.
Right.
All of the worst evils in the entire history of planet Earth have been done in the name of one's nation. The greater good of our nation. That's what causes genocides. That's what causes wars. That's what causes nuclear weapons. That right
and
there.
So on and so
nationalism.
Forth. It just continues to get worse.
Woodrow Wilson would not, and the whole reason Woodrow Wilson wanted to suck us in to World War I was to push coming off the gold standard, to push the Federal Reserve, because all of his Wall Street buddies wanted that to happen. And they knew that America couldn't afford to get into the war with the way things were currently. So they needed that. They needed the central banking and everything else. And that's what they pushed for. And then once we got into it, lo and behold, our central bank bonds with what central banks? The central banks of Europe, which for a millennia have been ruled by very small select groups of individuals who are all related to each other. They're all the same families. It's the Bilderberg Group. It's those people. And that then takes over. And it's exactly what Andrew Jackson warned about. And we wind up in that death spiral that we're in now as a direct result. And ultimately what's going to happen is we're going to have to go, hey, will someone please bail us out? And those same fucking people are going to come along and they're going to go, hey, what a coincidence. We can bail you out. We can save you here. And we only ask for a small token of allegiance.
Well,
that's what's coming.
I absolutely agree with you, but we've been going on this for about 3 hours and 50 minutes.
Yep, almost 4 hours. Like I said, this is going to be a really long episode. We are going to shut it down and call it a night. As always, make sure that you check out our sponsors, including Coffee Brand Coffee, Lions Not Sheep, thebeardstruggle.com, W Energy. I promise I didn't name my rat W after them. Definitely check out our best friend of the podcast, Dave at poppinspatches.com, who makes the greatest morale patches ever. Check out everybody else who sponsors us. There's a lot of them, and they are awesome. and we love them, and you need to check them out. This, by the way, is the Free Man t-shirt from Lions Not Sheep. It simply says Free Man. OD green, black text, says Free Man. It is a simple statement and one hell of a statement to make. I'm a big fan of this shirt. It's one of my favorite t-shirts.
And if you'd like something a little less mainstream, I mean, what Andrew's got isn't exactly mainstream, but I've got this fantastic design from a friend of mine that says, "This is why we can't have nice things." It's got a picture of the U.S. Capitol on it. And it's, tell me it's wrong. Tell me it's wrong. It's not.
So check out all of the companies that support us, because you should. If you also support us, they make this show possible. They make cool shit possible, and they support our message. So, do you have anything to add? Any life advice? Anything else before we sign off this double length episode?
Life advice: enjoy every day above ground, because every day above ground is a good day.
Always better over the hill than under it.
That's right.
All right. Enjoy your old age. It is a privilege denied to many. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. We apologize. It's been so long since we did the last one. Chris has not been feeling well. I have not been feeling well. But at this point, we do want to say that we love you guys. We hope to see you on, or, have you listen to us or whatever on the next one. We will be back. Peace.
Peace.